say that.
Please rise. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray for that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Leary.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
9 present.
Counsel Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence and darkened chamber to the victims of that senseless, horrific tragedy in Orlando, Florida, and pray that those who are wounded may make a speedy recovery. Thank you.
Could I add to that, Robert Fairbank, who passed away after a courageous battle with cancer on May 16th. Robert was part of a prominent Highlands family for many years. His wife Barbara predeceased him in 2012. He was an expert jewelry designer and platinum smith. And also taught at the Mass College of Art, the D. Cordova Museum, and for metalworks. Ashley, Kristen, and Casey. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move to suspend the rules to take item 6.11 out of order, if it's okay with my colleagues.
Second.
Okay, if there's no objection from the board, then by general consent, we'll suspend the rules to take that item out of order. Hearing no objection, rules are suspended. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the members of the council and the public, this is an exciting night for Lowell. This is the final step in attracting Kronos to the city of Lowell. We are here tonight to, by my recommendation, approve a TIF tax incentive financing program for Kronos. We'll go over some of the details in a moment, but I think the most important thing to point out is that Kronos is expected to relocate to the Cross Point Towers by the summer of 2017, and they will be relocating with them over 1,300 employees. And the TIF agreement requires them to add an additional 400 employees over the next 5 years. You know, we're no longer a mill town. We are an innovation hub. And I think the relocation of Kronos to the city of Lowell is one more indication of that we are a new city, that we are on the cutting edge. These companies understand it. And I think this is really an exciting possibility for the city of Lowell, and quite honestly for Kronos, because I think there's a lot to like about Lowell, and you're going to find that out. So what I'd like to do is just to have the representatives of Kronos, Vince, if you could come up with Chris Todd is here. I'd like to just to talk a little bit about what Kronos is, and then we'll go into the details of the TIF and any questions. I also see in the back Andrew Marr, the owner of Cross Point Towers, is here. Andrew, if you want to come up and just stand with you. So Chris, if you could just give us a brief overview of what Kronos is and what Kronos wants to be when you come to the city of Lowell.
All right, very good. Thank you for the warm introduction. This is a very exciting sort of step in the process for Kronos. We're a company that's been sort of very successful here in the area for almost 40 years. We're really enthusiastic about this next step in our development, and we're really excited to be taking this next step with Lowell. Our interactions with everyone in the city so far have been sort of fantastic and enthusiastic, and we're really looking forward to continuing that relationship on an ongoing basis. And as a little bit of an introduction, Kronos is a global workforce management software company. As I said, we've been in business for 38 years. We have over 25,000 global customers today in over 110 countries. So truly, truly a global organization. Over 35 million employees all over the world interact with Kronos systems every single day. And all those customers are supported by 4,700 global Kronos employees. For those of you who might not be completely familiar with what workforce management software is, there are a variety of pieces to it, right? So very quickly, at its most fundamental, it's time and attendance software that keeps track of employees when they come to work, when they leave, when they take breaks, when the breaks are supposed to start. But as you might imagine, it's become much more than that over the years. We have a forecasting and scheduling engine that helps companies understand how much labor they need at any particular time, how much labor they need at a shift, and finds the employees with the right skills and matches them up and sort of puts together the schedules for the organization. There's also absence management software, which helps companies organize their attendance and leave policies, keep track of those employees when they're at work, when they're not. There's an activities component, which allows organizations to sort of track the individual activities that need to go on, for instance, in a manufacturing plant or in a retail store. An analytics engine, in the era of big data to help organizations and customers see everything that's in their Kronos system and make guided decisions on a real-time basis to improve their organization. We have an HR and payroll solutions. We have a hiring solution to help people find jobs and match them with the right employers. And lastly, sort of a data collection business, so essentially clocks on walls that employees use to interact with all of the Kronos software. And so that's fundamentally the business and how it works. If you sort of think about that type of business, one of the real strengths of our business model is almost every business in every sector has that sort of need. And so we've got robust customer lists in retail, manufacturing, healthcare, manufacturing, services, and distribution. And we're really proud of the global customer base that we have. And so these are real logos, real customers: Target, Lowe's, Home Depot, FedEx, Google, DHL, large hospital systems, GM, GE, State of Ohio, State of Colorado, State of Alabama, State of West Virginia, et cetera, et cetera. 8 of the top 10 retailers in the United States, over 3,000 health systems, 1.6 state and local employees, and finally, over half of the Fortune 1000 companies are Kronos clients today. So really excited about the business that we've been able to grow and really excited about our growth prospects going forward. As you might imagine, given our history in this area, we're already sort of deeply involved with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of philanthropic activities sort of in and around Lowell and this area. To call out a couple of highlights, we have a deep partnership already with UMass Lowell. We have 4 separate programs with them. Just to highlight one, we have an internship and co-op program with UMass Lowell. We had 17 interns last year. Comes with a stipend, 6-month program. We've had a lot of success sort of finding sort of really talented individuals through that program and intend to continue that in the future. With Lowell Public Schools, we sponsor a number of students to attend the IDEA camp in the summer, which we think is sort of important as we look to educate and motivate the next generation workforce of sort of Lowell and sort of throughout the world. And you can see a much longer list here of activities that are, frankly, sponsored by our organization, but are also sponsored by individuals who think it's important to leave a positive mark on the communities in which they work and live as well. And then finally, just a little bit on this project and why we did this. As many of you know, we occupy a little over 320,000 square feet in Chelmsford today. We were looking as we'd outgrown that space, and we're really excited and really lucky to find the Cross Point site here in Lowell, which gave us the opportunity to expand. So Starting day one, we're taking 435,000 square feet. So for those of you familiar with the property, we're taking all of Tower 1 and 2 floors of Tower 2. It's in aggregate a $54 million investment in refurbishing the towers plus the 2 floors, $22 million of it sort of funded by Kronos. It's a 12-year lease, so we're committed for quite a long time and very, very excited about that. And as the city manager said, we're moving 1,300 jobs and have a commitment to add at least 400 over the next 5 years. And just to give you a sense of orders of magnitude, as a global company, we hired over 1,000 people last year. About 200 or so of those were in the Chelmsford area in 2015. As a company, we have over 300 job openings today, and the business continues to grow very well. We did over $1.1 billion in revenue last year and are going to grow very nicely on top of that. And I think finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on the fact that our culture is extremely important to us at Kronos. We've branded internally a work-inspired and living-inspired model that really does sort of energize us and energize our employees. And as part of that, we've won Best Places to Work awards from the Boston Globe, Boston Business Journal, other organizations in Massachusetts. And frankly, these are awards that we win throughout the United States and throughout the world. And we continue to invest to win those awards. And frankly, we think that the investment here in Crosspoint and the investment here in Lowell is going to improve our sort of daily work experience in a way that's going to make our employees even happier and more motivated to do well for Kronos and do well for the area. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have about Kronos.
Before we do any questions, I got a little ahead of myself, so let me just see if I can catch up in 1 minute.
Okay.
What's before the City Council is a vote approving the certified project application for Kronos Incorporated and authorizing a tax increment financing agreement for CP Associates LLC. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and do the second reading, which is a vote approving the certified project application for Kronos Incorporated and authorizing a tax increment financing agreement for CP Associates LLC. Okay, we're together now.
Okay, sorry about that.
So it's my fault.
It's my first time.
Okay. Any questions, Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any questions, but I do want to take this opportunity to publicly thank the partnership that we have. We have the planning department who's beaming over there because it's a successful partnership, and we're very, very pleased that you chose Lowell in offering jobs and bringing people here. So welcome to Lowell. Thank you very much for this wonderful effort.
Thank you.
We
We're happy
appreciate
to be
it.
here.
Yeah.
Council Samaras.
No, thank you. I want to reiterate, what Councilor Mercia stated. You're an exciting company. You've chosen to come to Lowell. You really have an amazing story of growth. And I've had many students, former students, come up to me who are now working for you, who talk about the opportunity they have for working with your company and the opportunity to grow. And they're also pleased that they're going to be part of the Lowell scene again. And I just can't say enough. I feel that by your company coming to Lowell, it's a watermark position, and that I see many other companies now looking at Lowell because of your choice to come here. And I think you're going to benefit this city in many, many ways for years to come. And we want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Council Milonazo.
Thank you. I guess I'll show my tenure in the city of Lowell by saying welcome back to Kronos, because Kronos actually,
Very good.
over at Jackson Appleton, Middlesex Street, I remember back in the late 70s when I was working for the Planning and Development Office, actually working with the principals back then. So again, I'm very excited about this tax increment financing proposal. Congratulations to the administration, especially the Planning and Development Office, and looking forward to working with CP Associates LLC. They're doing a very good job with that building. There's an awful lot of square footage out there, and it's just so important for Lowell to have, number one, businesses like Kronos, but property owners like CP Associates LLC to really continue to expand our economic future. So thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to share the sentiment of my colleagues that this is most certainly a great day for the city of Lowell. And one point I think that bears mentioning is that when Kronos occupies this building and their obligations are fulfilled, they will be the third largest employer in the city of Lowell, next to Lowell General Hospital and UMass Lowell. So that is huge, absolutely huge right there. So I just want to commend the manager's administration, planning and development, who's behind me and absolutely glowing as well. They should be applauded for their hard work on this. And I want to thank Kronos for choosing Lowell. You know, they seem, with this agreement, Mr. Mayor, they're not just a tenant at Cross Point Towers. They are our partner here in the city, going to do their best to hire locally, working with UMass Lowell to use local services. So that, to me, is a partner more than a tenant. So we welcome you with open arms. We look forward to growing with you in the future and fulfilling your needs as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Anything else? Mr. Manager, just as a point of information, I believe that there was a TIF agreement at Cross Point previously, and so some people might consider this to be a second TIF. And so could you explain that to everybody?
Yes, years ago, a TIF was granted to Cross Point Towers, but that TIF expired. And then Motorola occupied some space at the Cross Point Towers, and they were given a TIF for the space that they occupied. But when they moved out, that TIF expired when they moved out. So there is no TIF currently existing on the building at Cross Point Towers.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Sure. First of all, you know, this didn't happen overnight, and I really have to congratulate Diane Trad, Allison Lammy, Maria Dickinson, Sue LeMay, Christine O'Connor for the great work you did in making sure that this happened. And I have to really congratulate all of the Cronites for working with us. Sometimes, you know, we butted heads, but, you know, we were able to get together and make sure that this was good for not only the city of Lowell, but for Kronos. And I think it's important to note, I can see Andrew Marr is hanging his head a little back there, because it's important to note that he's still going to be paying the base taxes on this building. That's not going to change. What is going to change, though, is the incremental increase in the value of the building. As a result of Kronos's investment, we will be giving the tax incentive to. So they won't be getting a tax incentive on all of this. It's just their incremental value. And I think the most, you know, it's not only exciting that Kronos is bringing this cutting-edge technology to the city of Lowell, but if you look at the totality of this TIF, over the course of this TIF, they will also be bringing an additional $2 million in tax revenue via Cross Point Towers assessment to the city of Lowell. That, coupled with the fact their presence there is they're going to be occupying tower number 1 and part of number 2. But the other 2 towers, their value is going to increase also because of Kronos's presence at the facility. So, Andrew, hang your head a little lower. The building is going to go up higher in value, and therefore the taxes are going to increase. So Kronos brings a lot to the table with this proposal, and this is a great deal for the city, for the residents, and for the future of Lowell. So I can't recommend more strongly that the council approve this tax increment financing agreement with Kronos. Thank you very much.
Do we have a motion to approve? By Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Samaras. Motion to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
The next order of business would be under the mayor's portion of the agenda,
Mayor?
which is,
While we're under suspension, I'm wondering if we could take an item 10.1 out of order. There are many people that are here tonight, and we have a lengthy agenda. So I'd like to make a motion to take item 10.1. I think there are more than one motions relative to the Perkins property.
okay, Councilor Elliott has asked that we suspend the rules in order to take item 10.1 out of order. If there's no objection, we'll suspend the rules by general consent. Hearing no objection, we'll suspend the rules to take 10.1. 10.1 is a motion by Councilor Elliott, requesting that the city manager provide a report on the UMass expansion of dormitories at residence at Perkins Park and the lofts at Perkins Park, and the impact of city tax revenue. So a second to the motion, seconded by Council Mercia. Council Rowland. We have registered speakers. Did you want to speak first?
I'll just speak very briefly, Mr. Mayor, because I know there are a number of residents that have registered to speak, and they really are the ones that should be doing this. But I just want to say, just briefly, this past Sunday I did attend the meeting that was held in the community room at the Perkins Building to listen to the residents and to bring their concerns here to the floor of the council. And they are here tonight as well to express those concerns. And I can tell you, I was really, it was very informative, but a number of items that were revealed at the meeting to me that they're quite disconcerting, quite frankly. And, I understand this is a private property. The city was involved in the development with the owner of the property and at the time. And I personally feel, and you'll hear from residents, that's, some of the tactics or some of the practices, I should say, that even up to this past Friday that the owner of the building continues to use, it's really quite unfortunate. One resident just moved in, or a couple of residents just moved in this past May. Stipulations, and those that have signed leases within the last year, they asked about future uses, planned uses, and were told that it was going to remain available for rental property. There are conditions in the lease that do stipulate that there's a possibility to purchase these as condos. So, the residents feel that they were clearly misled and quite frankly, I feel deceived. Even this Friday, they were showing apartments to prospective people that want to rent. So, I'm going to cut my comments short here, but I feel bad for these people who, they came told, these are the people that we attracted to the city. These are the people that we want to be living in our mills, to supporting economic development, supporting the downtown. They pay market rents, and they love the city. And, for this to take place is really unfortunate. I don't know what we can do to help these people, but if there is something that we can do, they don't want to move. They like where they live. They love the city. They love the downtown, the Merrimack River, and everything else that it has to offer. So those were the sentiments that I and others that, I felt at Sunday's meeting. And I look forward to hearing from the residents.
We have 7 registered speakers.
Ralph Sutter.
Good evening. City Council members, we stand here before you not just as the residents of Perkins Park, but as residents of the city of Lowell. And we request that you, as representatives of the city, assist us in standing firmly against the sale of the Perkins complex to UMass Lowell. Not just by being empathetic, but by taking action and speaking out against this acquisition. This building contains the very people you as a city are looking to attract, people who are willing to invest in the city itself, people who live here year-round, people who are willing to buy property and support local businesses, people who pay taxes, and most importantly, people who wish and choose to establish themselves in the city and grow along with it. These are all factors that contribute to not just growing Lowell's economy, but also tremendously help boost its attractiveness to other like-minded individuals. People are not just looking for a place to live, but they're looking for a place to settle down and call their home. The goal of finding a long-term home, a place worthy of investing in, is what was done by many of us and we were looking to do as we were signing our leases for our units in Perkins. What made Perkins so attractive specifically is the fact that it embodies what Lowell as a city is trying to achieve and evoke. Lowell takes a lot of pride in its heritage and wants not to just restore its properties and buildings, but also its community and economy. It wants to be a city of urban renewal, attractive to young families, new businesses, and startup companies. Since we, the tenants, were all very serious about settling down, the majority of us asked specifically during the signing of all of our leases whether or not the owner, Mira Development, had any intentions to sell the building or transfer ownership. We all saw the threat of UMass acquiring properties left and right. So many of us posed the question as it would have interfered directly with our goals. We were all reassured that the building was in no danger of being sold and that there were also no long-term plans to do so. In fact, the only real intentions that were in place were to eventually turn the building into purchasable condo units. Some current tenants moved in 2 weeks prior to when the letter was sent out notifying us of the potential UMass acquisition. They too asked these questions, and they were still reassured that there was no immediate danger. This means that we were lied to by Mira. We were lured in under false pretenses. We can agree on the fact that transactions of this magnitude, $61 million, take time. Mira had to have been well aware of what was happening and should have been transparent about this. They were not. Ergo, we were led to believe that leasing at Perkins could turn into a long-term commitment, when in fact the opposite was already true. I really want the City of Lowell to conduct an investigation to find out how long negotiations have been in place. I want to know whether or not proper procurement regulations were followed during this transaction between Mira and UMass. As it stands, Lowell is going to lose close to 500 residents who are not moving because they want to, but residents who are forcefully being displaced. Residents who would have loved to have been permanent residents are all going to be looking for a new place to live at once. And this will likely not be Lowell. Many of us specifically chose Perkins because it's a unique property. There's nothing like it within the city. Even if we wanted to stay here, there's insufficient housing of comparable value in the Lowell market to cater to our needs. Lastly, most of us own dogs. It's hard enough to find a place to live without pets under normal circumstances, let alone when many dog owners, as part of a mass eviction, are looking. How is that okay? I would also like to point out that the building behind us, Renaissance on the River, will certainly be at risk. Though there may not be an immediate risk of a buyout, its condo owners must surely not be happy about the prospect of a giant dorm being built on their doorstep. You'll most certainly see its residents selling their units to move elsewhere, making the pool of lost locals significantly larger. This leads me to the second party in this transaction, which is the university. UMass should not be purchasing this complex. It's unethical on their behalf and is in direct conflict with what the university stands for and its civic duties. We're all for the growth and expansion of colleges and universities, UMass in particular. Education is extremely important. However, it should never come at the cost of the people who are already established in the city that houses the college in question. I don't understand how a college that stands for, and I'm going to be quoting UMass's own mission statement here, a college that stands for preparing students to work in the real world, solve real problems, and help real people, a college that stands for building on its founding tradition of innovation, entrepreneurship, and partnerships with industry and the community to address challenges facing the region and the world. How can a university that stands for this feel comfortable displacing those very real people that contribute to and help the city which they're based in? Why is UMass not actively solving the very real challenge of a space shortage more productively by building new properties of their own? Where is the innovation in purchasing already developed buildings? With the Perkins acquisition in particular, the university will only solve their own immediate problems whilst generating countless issues for the community and the displaced residents in question. It literally will change the entire dynamic by removing one of Lowell's most prominent residential communities and turning it into on-campus housing. In all of the university's correspondence since the news broke, they're very adamant about maintaining their partnership with the City of Lowell. City Manager Murphy is seemingly upset about the potential loss of property taxes, but he seems to completely miss the point that the city would take a much larger hit were we all to move. Funnily enough, Chancellor Maloney's letter to the City Council, she listed how much the university spent and contributed to the City of Lowell. The city spent close to $130 million in acquisitions and property renovations, whilst they only contributed roughly $2 million to the City of Lowell, which in relation to that spending is less than 1.5%. All the tenants in Perkins, and I'm using myself here as an example, individually spend close to 40% of their annual income directly each year. And that goes directly to our local economy. Furthermore, in Chancellor Maloney's letter, there's absolutely no mention of our displacement. She does, however, bring to light that she continues to look forward to working with the City of Lowell as part of, and I quote, a growing, mutually beneficial partnership. Are we, the residents of Perkins Park, not to be considered the city of Lowell? I believe so. For us, this partnership is hardly mutual or beneficial. Why can't UMass spend the same amount of money on their owned and undeveloped properties? Maybe instead of turning the Notini property into a sports field, they could erect a dormitory there. Why can't they purchase the parcel of 2.4 acres next to the Boot Cotton Mills and turn that into campus housing? Why did they not purchase the Thorndike factory building and renovate that? With all the money they're willing to spend, I'm surprised that UMass isn't essentially trying to build a facility that is tailored more to its students' needs. I think the prevailing trend in colleges around the nation and internationally is to create multifunctional buildings with smart classrooms, sometimes even with retail or other dining facilities attached, as opposed to just sleeping facilities, right? If UMass is serious about investing in the city, then why are they not building these units? And why did they choose to take the easy way out, evict a bunch of people, and use that building for dormitory purposes? This brings me back to you. As representatives of the city, you need to speak out against this purchase. When are you going to see a group of people, like the ones before you'll hear, that are that passionate and adamant about wanting to live here? What message do you think this will send to prospective future residents when they have to be uncertain about where they live if they're renting? You need to stand up against what is happening now because no one else can do it. If UMass respects its partnership with the city of Lowell, then it should listen to its outcry and needs. After all of us here are the city of Lowell.
Before we go on with the second speaker, I would just point out to the next 6 speakers that we do have a 5-minute rule, and I'll be imposing the 5-minute rule. So just try to be succinct. Go ahead.
Greg Poirier.
I'll yield 2 and 3 of my minutes back to Ralph. You did a great job. I'll be brief. My name is Greg Poirier. I moved here from Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago to be near my mother-in-law. I'm a private entrepreneur. I've got a startup business, and by the way, we need to work on an ordinance so you can have more than one business associated with your home. It'd be good for startup environments. Another topic for another day. I fully intended to live here for the next 5 or 10 years. I don't know what I'm going to do now if I have no other choices, and I think I'm a classic example of what's moved in and that what you want to attract in the city or any city. I'm well employed. I've got a couple of employees. I do contract work. I work in global technology, and I'm a remote worker for Honeywell. So this is one of the examples of people that are getting displaced that you should know about. Thank you.
Hillary Barnes. Hillary Barnes.
Promise I won't be as long as Ralph either. My name is Hillary Behrens. I was the community manager at Lofts at Perkins Park for the first 5 years it was open. I worked with Ed Walsh through the development of the building, so I feel, I guess, a special attachment to it for that reason. I think the reason that I felt it important to speak is just to say we are all devoted to the city of Lowell, and there is not going to be room for all of us to find housing once this building sells. We have 230 apartments that are going to be vacated when UMass takes over this building. I previously managed the apartments at Boot Mills prior to Lofts at Perkins Park being built, so I'm still familiar with all of the lovely folks at Wynn. Boot Mills East, Boot Mills West, Loft 27, Counting House are all at almost 100% capacity. They had 8 apartments available at Boot Mills East and 11 at Boot Mills West. And those are not dog-friendly apartments either. My concern is this is the one building that is 100% market rate. None of us are there on a subsidy. None of us are there with vouchers. You're talking about people with incomes between $75,000 and I would say $250,000. The average income being about $100,000 that are all bringing businesses money. I spend way more money than I probably ought to downtown at Cobblestones, Indigo Salon, Tremonte, Bishops. I volunteer for the Lowell Humane Society. I have for 6 years. I volunteer at Living Waters. I volunteer at the Wish Project on occasion. One of the residents here every week goes down and waters cats that are stray in town. We're devoted. This is a community that's living and breathing in Lowell and that is going to help the downtown survive. And I think that the frustration here is we're going to be having to move out of Lowell because there is not another place that can take all of us. I have a letter that I won't go through the whole thing of from Scott Plath from Cobblestones, and basically he's reiterating the same thing. Perkins Lofts has represented another progression for Lowell and an important opportunity for businesses like Cobblestones. They've dreamed of a day where they're less dependent upon shows, events, and functions for the health and financial welfare of the 50-plus employees. Again, now we're bringing Kronos in. Where are those folks going to live? I'm sure they're not all making more than $250,000. So I just think we need to work. I reached out to Sal Lupoli about the Thorndike Mill. Can we get that up and running? Can we get more market housing so that Wynn is not the only deal in town? Because they're going to have total control over what they're charging for rents if they are the only predominantly market rate housing. So thank you very much for your time.
Leon Goodwin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. My name's Leon Goodwin. I live at 21 Lawrence Drive. I'm actually humbled to be on this side of the microphone tonight. I'm the town manager of Salem, New Hampshire, so I'm normally sitting on that side, and it's an interesting perspective being out here in the audience. I think it's also fortuitous that we are following Kronos, because that is an example of excellent planning and the dedication and hard work of the world-class planning department that's bringing a world-class business to Lowell in what was a planful, thoughtful approach that I'm sure took many, many months and a lot of work. I've lived and worked in the city of Keene, New Hampshire. I worked for the city of Keene. That's a beautiful, small college town that has a good relationship with the college there, Keene State College, and they have a partnership between the residents, the college, and the city. And that partnership, I think, makes the city better. Lowell should be trying to promote that between UMass, yourselves, and the residents. We all arrived home a couple Fridays ago to a letter stuffed in our door. I think that the city manager maybe got a similar letter. I don't know how you found out about this, but it sounds like it was a surprise to you as well. How is that a relationship builder? To find out on a Friday that you're being evicted in a year because of a short-term decision by a university that thinks that they might not have to build their own dorms or think outside the box or be a little bit more creative. Cities all over the United States are partnering up, public-private partnerships, to create private dormitories. Is that allowed in Lowell? I don't know. I haven't looked at your zoning, but I think that the planning folks probably have an idea of how to make that happen. Why not incentivize private dorms to go up in that area? There were empty lots, as Ralph mentioned, that could be redeveloped, revitalized. Private dorms pay taxes. They can go up faster than university dorms can, and they can be built more cheaply as well. That seems like a win-win to me, something that should flow from a partnership, a true partnership, that I don't think we actually have here in Lowell. You know, my wife and I, we can live anywhere. We choose Lowell for a reason. We like it here. I'm hoping that you folks, I know that you can't stop this sale. It's a private sale. Notwithstanding the potential procurement issue that Ralph raised and that I've actually brought to the attention of state officials, that I believe that some of this should have been more public than it was. At the very least, it should have been public so that your fine planning folks, yourselves, could have participated and said, do you think that's really the best idea to displace 230 households to who knows where? Because as we've heard, occupancy is near 100% in Lowell, which is a great thing for you. But it's not such a great thing for us, and it may not be a great thing for you in the long term because we're probably going to move. And that means we won't be in Lowell and we won't be contributing to Lowell. And I think we're the kind of people who you want contributing to Lowell. So in closing, this deal doesn't seem like a very good long-term plan. And the city should do what it can, maybe from a political standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, to see if you can be vocal and see if you can come up with another deal with UMass to make their goals be met, but meet the goals of your residents as well. There's a whole lot of us tonight that showed up. There's more of us that couldn't show up because we're working or out spending our money in this community. And I just think that I implore you to go out there and try your best for us, because that's why we elected you. Again, your planning staff is good. Let them come up with a solution. I'm sure that they have a better one than this. Thank you.
Aaron Goodwin.
Hello. I'm Erin Goodwin, and I also live at 21 Lawrence Drive. My husband and I moved to Lowell from Arlington, Massachusetts in November to be closer to our jobs. We're both public servants, so I'm a science teacher, and he's the town manager in nearby Salem, New Hampshire. Lowell checked off a lot of our boxes. We wanted a community with restaurants, we wanted diversity, we wanted places to walk our dog and to go jogging. We wanted a 2-bedroom so that we could start a family. We could afford other places, but we chose Lowell. I used to be uncomfortable when I told people we were moving here because, to be honest, I know it hurts, I received mixed reviews. Within weeks of moving here, I was pleased to become Lowell's newest unofficial ambassador, bragging about it like a proud parent and protecting it when folks were negative. I'm always hashtagging the city's motto in my Instagram posts. And not only was I at the farmer's market every weekend this winter, but I'd bring along friends and family who have continued to bring their friends and family too. When I needed new running equipment, I walked downtown to the running store. I'm proud to shop local. I just won't be satisfied until everyone I know has tried one of your amazing Vietnamese sandwiches, followed by shaved snow at snow days, and I even had to join a local running club to offset all the great food that I've been eating. For the first time in my life since leaving my hometown for college, I found a local doctor and dentist. In the life of a 30-something, that's a sign of serious commitment. My husband has talked of joining a board in the city, and you would be so lucky to have him. As great as my life is here, I don't think we're there yet. The saying says to build it and they will come, but there's a lot of hard work that needs to be put into maintaining and cultivating what's been built. Let me use a bike path along Route 110 as an example. It's isolated and I think underused. It's been built, but people haven't quite come yet. Several times a week, I make a point to run down along the water where there's less foot traffic because I know someone needs to. If I run down there, then more people will feel safe. And soon, I hope it will be well trafficked. We're not there yet. You've attracted some great folks to your special little city, but now you need to keep us. If I'm forced out of my building, I'm sad to say that my next step is a picket fence in Andover, and I don't think that either of us want that. Thank you.
Stancy Greenlaw.
Everyone said pretty much what I was going to say. This is just something that does not feel right for a city to be okay with displacing so many people, year-round residents, hardworking people, people who vote, people who want to commit to this community. It just doesn't seem right that this secret deal could go on and the city be okay with only accepting 1 year's, real estate tax thing and being like, oh, it's okay now. It's not okay. What is to prevent us from moving or finding someplace else in the city and the university taking that over too? There has to be some kind of wordage or something where people who come here can stay here and feel safe, feel like they're making a commitment to the city to stay there long term, more than just a 12-month lease. And that's really all I have to say.
Bob Kelly.
Honorable Mayor, council people, I want to say thank you for listening to us. My wife and I, less than 1 year ago, got married, and we moved to Lowell in November. We love Lowell. I have never been in a place that that I've really enjoyed and felt that I was part of until I got a little message under my door the other day. You have an opportunity here. You have a strong opportunity here. And when we have opportunities in front of us, as business people, we know how to take that action. Risk rewards. But I think this is going to be one of character. And with character, I think we're going to ask that you do something that you might want to be, might not be completely comfortable with. I'm assuming a mayor doesn't have a problem with taking the right decision. I don't know about the rest of you. I don't know your day-to-day lives. But I'm going to assume that you're business owners. I'm going to assume that you are people who lead within your organizations. So you'll probably already know what those risks are when you have to make a decision. You have a beautiful city. We want to be part of it. We would love to be part of it. Please find a way to help us out. Thank you very much.
That's it for the registered speakers. Any members of the council? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These people just broke my heart. I'm not kidding. These are people that came out of their busy schedule to come up here to prove a point that they're fighting with every last breath that they have in them to try to stay in their property that they love, because they made a commitment from moving anywhere they wanted, and yet they chose Lowell, just like Kronos just chose Lowell. And we have a university that we like to see expand to some degree, but to take 230 residents and say, see you later, I don't like that. That's not right at all. And I know, and I don't know where we stand here. I think that, and I'm not trying to give you false hope, I think that, Mr. Manager, you represent us. I wish you would, again, sit down with the university and tell them to just watch a repeat of what we just seen. And if their heart doesn't break and swell with pride to know that we garnished some great, great people that promote our city in so many ways, and they want to do this to them, my heart is broken. I don't know what we can do. I know we get Adam Bakey here. Adam, please bring this message back to the chancellor and tell them how heartless that seems for this council. We try to be good partners, and I'd hate to, people say, oh, I reached to the top. I will never want to reach to the top if I have to step on people to get there, and that is what it seems to me that's happening with the university, and I'm embarrassed to say that this is what it seems like. I wish that I could snap my fingers or have a magic wand that lets you live there and stay there, because you are the good people that we're very, very proud of. Hard-working individuals. I don't know what we can do, but all I can think of is suggest to the manager, please sit down again with the powers to be over there, let them know that this is not the right maneuver. This is not. There's other things and ways that they can get around this without displacing and hurting people. And I don't want to say that if I have no power left to do that and it doesn't happen, did we as a council some weeks ago approve of development going across from Industrial Avenue, from Cross Point Tower? They're going to build a high-rise. Is that happening by the Cross Point Tower? connect to park.
Are you,
connect to
do
park.
you mean the housing on Wellman Street?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that hasn't been finalized yet. It's still in the permit processing.
I don't want to lose these people. These are wonderful people, and I don't know if I can make it happen, but something needs to be done. And I don't say that we can tell a university, don't do it, because they have a mind of their own. They'll do whatever they feel they need to do without, but I hope they just watch a tape of what they just heard, because my heart is broken for these people. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the speakers that came down. And I don't know, what this council can do either, and we don't want you to certainly to leave the city either. I'm sure maybe at your meeting, I don't know if there was discussions about trying to talk to the management company and purchase the condos, purchase the apartments as condos. I mean, if they're negotiating to sell, I would think that they would go for the best offer. So if you could come together as a, as a group and purchase, that should be an option also. But, I mean, the building is for sale. The university should be, consider what they're buying, but someone should also talk to the company that's selling the property also. Maybe we can talk some sense to them, and maybe you're allowed to purchase them as condos. Maybe you can get together and buy them, but we certainly don't want to see you leave. We don't want to really start it's just bad circumstances that the university happens to be the one trying to purchase it, but they don't have to buy it. So, any support that we as individuals can do, we'll do for you. But, I don't think it's a done deal, so I wish you the best of luck. And we don't want you to leave the city. We appreciate all the good, kind remarks that you said here tonight. And, if there is anything we can do as a council, we'll probably try to extend that. But individually, we can all help in our own way. And, again, we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for coming down here. But again, it's not a done deal, so maybe, it's not the end of the road, so there is hope. Thank you.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with my colleagues that, these residents, we have to retain at all costs. First I want to say that, this is a private deal with a public enterprise, of course, as in UMass Lowell, but to my knowledge, this is a deal that's been a few years in the making, and the city council and the city manager did not know any more than all of you in this transaction. It's a surprise to all of us. And I thank you for coming down, because in doing that, you showed this council and the administration what an asset you are to our city and to our downtown. Now, I've been a downtown businessman, or was a downtown businessman for 15 years, and I witnessed what we're going to call a renaissance in front of my own very eyes. And what we sort of ended up in most of these cases is not something that helped our downtown economy, and I'll leave it at that. These are the people that help our downtown economy, okay? They are young professionals with disposable income, okay? Our city, I've spoken more than once that we become too unbalanced, okay? Market rate is the way we need to go, the direction this city needs to go from here on in. This city needs to raise the bar. I've said it time and time again, okay? And that we cannot lose these people under any circumstances. So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, Councilor Mercy brought up a good idea. I don't want to see them even lose the downtown. But there is a project that was approved with Vision Development, the former Lowell Bank site. Now, I know that's a different animal. It's a college dormitory, and these people don't strike me as people who want to live in a college dormitory. However, that's basically maybe our only chance. I don't know what we can do to stop this deal. I don't want to give these people a false promise. We will do all we can to retain them, of course. Mr. Manager, and you will sit down with the Chancellor, but this deal may very well be inevitable. Okay, so what is our plan? Okay, could you possibly sit down with Vision Development? Now, I know their plan is approved, but can they change the scope to build a suit for these residents? I don't know that there's a timing aspect that's involved too with the build out. I don't know how that works, but it's just I'm trying to think of everything. We don't want to lose these people. Okay, they help all of our we have letters from downtown businesses. That's all I need to hear. So we need to do all we can to save them. So, Mr. Manager, I don't know, maybe not only, I mean, yes, a conversation with the Chancellor, a conversation with the Wellman Street project, but that's on the outskirts of the city. I don't want to see them go there. Our only chance may be that Vision project. But again, there's a timing issue that's involved. Can they build the suit to accommodate these people? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, Mr. Manager. Could I burden you with that task of what can be done on that project? It's going to be a brand new facility. So the Vision Development was aimed at college dormitories. Well, now this is going to be college dormitories. So maybe they'll be more open to market rate condominiums, which these people want to occupy. So I'm thinking out loud, Mr. Manager, and please, I'd like to task you with that conversation. Again, it may be our only hope. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras, then Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Milonazo, and then Councilor Leary. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I almost don't know where to begin. If we were to run an ad, if we wanted to develop an ad for why you should come to Lowell, just the thoughts that we heard tonight would make the perfect ad. There's no question about that, to talk about why someone should live in Lowell. So they delivered quite a message. But my first question, Mr. Manager, in fact, referred to the city solicitor, can we do anything? As a city council, what can we do? What are our options at this particular point? Do you see anything?
Mr. Manager.
Well, certainly I'm going to sit down with the Chancellor. We were just able to arrange a meeting for June 27th with the Chancellor to go over a number of items. We like to meet on a quarterly basis, and we have a list of items to go to, and this will be one of the items on the list to discuss and how we can help these people in any way. I mean, from a legal standpoint,
That's the point.
no, we don't have any legal standing to do anything, but from a moral standing, we can certainly talk to the university to see what can be done to help the people out.
You know, I mean, there's several issues here. One, we want the city to be successful. Two, we want the university to be successful, because if they're successful, we're successful. If we're successful, the university becomes successful. But in all of this, we talk about what we want to see in the city of Lowell, what type of people we want to see becoming part of the city of Lowell. And often, you know, Kronos has come to Lowell, we're excited about Kronos. There are so many things, as the university expands, we're excited about the university expanding. But sometimes what we forget, there are victims with success. And I think these people have become the victims of some success that we're having in the city at this particular point. And it's hard to say, you know, do we have an answer? But my concern, another concern I have, Mr. Manager, is that if you were to talk to, you know, I know Chancellor Maloney will do everything she can to facilitate, talk with, and see what could be done, what are options, things like that. But my main concern is the company that's selling Perkins Place to the university. If the university were to turn it down, what's their next plans? What's their next option? You know, the people could have a Pyrrhic victory, in a sense of they have the victory, but they've lost the battle. They won a battle but lost the war, because I see Perkins Place clearly wanting to sell and not planning to, we'll say, turn them into condominiums or what have you. So there's a problem there. So I think you've got your hands full in the sense of we want to continue our working relationship with the university, and we want the university to continue to grow. But at the same time, how do we deal with a group of people who've honestly come before us, and they do represent the type of people that we've talked about, saying, this is who we want to see come to Lowell, and we want to be able to tout to other people that Lowell is a good place to be because of the type of people that came here. I have no answer. I mean, and this is a difficult problem, and I think this is going to require a lot of discussion with a lot of maybe out-of-the-box thinking as to what the potential could be. Because right now, I just don't see, with that corporation wanting to sell to the university, that changing at this particular point. So what can happen? What are some other alternatives? And you're pretty good at it, Mr. Manager, so the thing is, see what can happen. But I'm just having some dialogue with everybody. I wish I could say, you know what, we can make it better tomorrow, we can make a call, and this will be all right. But we have, again, we want our city to be successful, we want our university to be successful, but we want our people to move into Lowell and be comfortable they've made the right choice to move into a city that is kind and welcoming and has a future. So, no good answer, but good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott.
Dr. Malazzo
Councilor
can
Malinowski.
speak first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me begin by saying, in all my years on the city council, I've never heard speakers really speak from the heart like you all did tonight, and that really does send a message to me in that, is there a way that we can come to some sort of balance? Again, implore the city manager, that's what the motion says, basically provide a report on the expansion and then the impact it does have, but to really sit and have the dialogue with the university, and is there a balance that we can reach? Right now, this clearly is a private sale. Again, it doesn't have standing in this chamber. When one person spoke, they thanked us for listening to them, but after hearing them, clearly this is their city, and we are the elected officials, and we should be listening to their concerns. Whether or not we can help them, I'm not entirely sure. Is there a balance? Again, I'm not entirely sure. I would, though, just state that knowing the people involved at the university, I, for one, just speaking for myself, would not question the procurement policy that they went through, and I wouldn't question the ethics. Unfortunately, it's a business transaction, and once the lawyers entered the room and they signed the non-disclosure, whether it was 6 months ago, a year ago, or 2 years ago, there was very little that could be said publicly, from what I understand and read in the newspaper. They finally did reach an agreement, and unfortunately, the way it was delivered to the residents was not, in my opinion, either appropriate, leaving a note or a letter in the door. So again, Mr. Manager, can we try to reach a balance with the university? I really don't know. I do know that these folks have clearly adopted Lowell, and that's something that we, as a body, have hoped for, prayed for, and we saw it here tonight. So again, in all my years being on this council, these people spoke for the heart, and I really do hope we can find some balance. So thank you.
Councilor Leary, then Councilor Rourke, then.
No, just as first of all, thank you very much for taking the time. You did speak, passionately, and going through this, listen to this motion over the weekend, thinking of what you could do, and looking at the legal side, looking at the negotiating side. I know there's other motions on the list tonight, but one of them actually addresses the council sitting down with UMass Lowell and actually beginning that dialogue in a public way in terms of mutual needs. But I know, Mr. Manager, you actually have already been on having dialogue, because talking about this motion with you, you've already had conversations with the Chancellor. The obvious is this: we all want market rate housing. This is 200+ market rate houses that are gone, potentially, unless something changes dramatically in the next few months, few weeks. Not only that, but it's tax base. And I think every one of us have taken that position and are frustrated, including you. None of us really were aware of what was going on. Otherwise, there would have been probably intervention earlier. But one area does stick out with me that Councilor Samaras pointed out, that the owner, I think it's Mira, was actually looking to sell this. So that's an issue, I guess. What would you do if they didn't sell to the university? Didn't think at that point, I guess, what would actually happen? Would it be availability for folks to purchase it as condos? Would they sell it to Wynn, to sell to another developer? That's something, I guess, is a larger issue, probably a very challenging issue when you do sit down with the university, when we sit down with the university. The aggressive way of doing it is, I think, is probably the least tasteful part of this. And you find out the same day we find out about the sale, now we're finding about your lease will be up at a certain time and it won't be renewed. That's pretty dramatic. It's business, but it's still nonetheless dramatic. I think we all have heard about that. We've all received phone calls regarding that. We do need to address that and acknowledge that that's not probably the best way that it could have been handled. In saying that also is, what do we do now with market housing? We talked about Wellman Street and other areas. Probably those areas may not actually be the appropriate fit for a variety of different reasons. What do we do in the immediate now? I guess really, as we open up this for further discussion, I think we really need to reach out to the chancellor and say, exactly, is this the best fit for you? The reality is, however, it probably is. They made that decision a couple of years ago when they entered into negotiations, or whatever time frame they've entered into it. So without giving false hope to people, I think we do need to express, both publicly, and I think we've all expressed it privately to the university, that we're not happy about the way this happened, and that we take it very seriously for a variety of points, both selfish from tax base and market housing, but also listening to folks who have come in here tonight and expressing their desire to be a part of this community. They are a part of this community. In fact, they're quite the involved part of this community. We have multiple motions tonight. I think they're all good questions. But if we could do anything to reach out to the chancellor and at least have a discussion on that, and really, again, without creating false hope, start having that atmosphere of what we both want, both what I think the university wants and what the city of Lowell wants and what our citizens want. And more important, and not more importantly, but equally important, not to have this situation arise again. If we lose more fair market housing, that's going to really hurt the downtown. And I've heard, I came from the school committee, I've heard meeting after meeting where the city council presents, we need to have more business downtown. We need to have more folks spending their income. Well, this is over 200 folks leaving that actually do that. And that's a massive problem, not just for that little area, but ultimately for the downtown and for the city. So I appreciate you taking the time. I don't know what exactly we can do in a legal action or what have you. It sounds from the first speaker, which the information from Mirror is interesting. If they're promising, and right up to today, bringing people in, that's an interesting issue for you to explore in a different avenue besides the city council, because that's interesting. It's not only that, it's pretty painful. Thank you.
Councilor Rook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before this motion was brought forward and the speakers spoke, I had similar thoughts to Councilman Monazzo, to the point where we'd hear people state their concerns of what happened, tell them that we can't help them and just move on. But after hearing these residents speak, and your heart breaks for them. We've heard a lot of talk about disposable income, market rate, tax base, and so forth. But the bottom line is, Mr. Manager, that these people got screwed. I mean, there's no other way around it. They really did. But to have people in there in April and May to come in and move in on a lease, and then, weeks later, to get a note saying they're getting their boot in a year. I mean, deciding where you live, is probably the biggest decision, one of the biggest decisions of your life. So I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I think you have 9 councilors here that all share the similar concerns over what happened. So I would hope that those involved in this are watching, read about it, or as Councilor Mercia stated, watch some of what happened this evening, and talk to those involved to see. Again, I think the only option you have is the moral standards of what you'd hope people would act by. So to the residents of Perkins, best of luck. I hope for the best for all of you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this just doesn't sit well, Mr. Manager, with any of us here, and I'll include you as well, because we've had discussions about this. And what troubles me is the developer, because many of us that were sitting right here when the developer came to this city looking to create housing at Perkins, is the same developer that took advantage of historic tax credits. And one of the key provisions of those tax credits is the requirement that market rate housing be part of the development. Not 50, not 70, 100%. So I'm just, the buck stops here. This is where we are their leaders. This is where, we're the people that have to take that message to the developer and the university. This is what we work for. So I do think we have a vested interest, Mr. Manager. I believe that we should be putting our best foot forward and finding a way to stop this deal, to keep the people here rather than say, let's find housing here, let's find, they love this place. We want them downtown. And if they were selling it, if they were going to make it condos, and there are stipulations in their leases, there's got to be some legal standing for these people. And I think that we need to take that step forward and see what we can do instead of saying good luck. You know, almost to the day, you know, Mr. Backey was here. Mr. Backey probably presented this project to the city when he was planning development director, saying, these are the people we want downtown. We got them here. I don't think that we can send them on their way and say, you know what, good luck. This is a private deal. I think the city has a vested interest. You know, tax credits, they do expire, but I'm going to presume there's got to be something in the statute that says, yeah, they do expire, but market rate housing still should remain at this complex. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the statute says. I don't know what the guidelines are included in using those historic tax credits, but that's why they developed it. Yes, they have to go through the historic board, and they did meet those obligations. But I don't think at the end of the day, when you take advantage of tax credits, taxpayer dollars, that you can just, you know, when they expire, say, you know, wash your hands of it and say, we're done, we have another entity that we can sell it to, and all of the strategic planning we have done, all the marketing, all of the city's efforts that we have done to attract exactly the people that we have here go down the drain. So I know the motion says, you know, to get a report on the implications of UMass, but I'd like to a friendly amendment to say, you know, also approach the developer and say, there's got to be a better way. These people want to buy the condos, so let's see if we can sell it to them first. So I would make that by way of friendly motion, friendly amendment, Mr.
Friendly amendment, is there objection to the friendly amendment? Hearing none, friendly amendments adopted. Are you set? Council Rook? Can you?
Mayor Kennedy?
Thank you. I wasn't expecting to speak on this. I was away for the weekend and actually for a good part of yesterday, so I missed a lot of the phone calls and emails and so forth that went on. But after hearing the speakers this evening, and the speakers gave steering testimony, I thought, for a lot of this. I do think that, if we're going to be honest about this, that there probably isn't a lot that this city council can do. I think that Council Leahy probably had the best idea, which would be to make a counteroffer and to buy out the condos. But that requires a lot of organization, and maybe everybody that lives there doesn't have the wherewithal to do that now. On top of that, I would imagine that the owner of the property would have considered a condominium buyout when they were determining whether or not they were going to sell the property as one whole entity or break it up. And that they evidently thought that the deal that was offered to them by the university was better than a condo sellout. So I'm not sure that we should suggest that's there should be high hopes for that, but I do think that that's at least worth exploring. I think this, over the past week, this city has enjoyed a good relationship with the university for several years. And over the past week, that's broken down a little bit. And I think that there's probably a lot of blame to go around maybe for that, but I think that primarily the public relations that the university had in announcing this were poor. And that it maybe could have been managed a lot better than the way it was. I think that recently the chancellor has asked that that the university meet with the city to develop a master plan or master agreement, and I think that's a good thing in order that we don't have something like this going forward. But I also think that what this city council needs to be concerned about and what the administration needs to be concerned about is every other project that we have. You know, I think Councilor Mercia mentioned Wellman Street. Well, what if Wellman Street gets built and the university decides they want to buy Wellman Street? And they have the wherewithal to do it because they're using public money. The criteria that they use when they buy is different from what a private investor would use when they were buying because it just is, because it's public money. We have Vision that's building private dorms that will be taxable dorms that will be on the perimeter of the central business district. But what if down the road the university decides they want to buy that? You know, everybody's happy to see the university grow. And I think that although some people call Lowell a college town, it really isn't a college town at this point. You know, that school by and large is still a commuter school. But I think everybody on the city council and in the city administration is interested in seeing that change. But we also have to be careful and measured and prudent about the way that change takes place. We just hired a few weeks ago as a master developer Wind Development to do the Hamilton Canal. And everybody on this council knows that Wind Development is primarily concerned with residential development. And so suppose they do residential development at the Hamilton Canal District, and then the university decides to buy that. I think that we're going to have to be very careful going forward with every residential project that comes before us, because we're always going to be at risk of having the university down the road just gobble it up and buy it as they continue to grow. And we don't want to stunt that growth, but we have to be careful about how that growth occurs. And I think that's something that we with the Perkins property and with those other properties, I think that's something that we have to be very careful about going forward. They just can outbid most private developers, and it's not. And as they continue to grow, they could just gobble up properties one by one, and that which takes them off the tax roll, which is a primary objection for the city council. You know, we're looking to expand the tax base. We're interested in economic development, and to get a hit like we got over the weekend in terms of the tax base is tough. But if there could be additional hits down the road, and I think that we have to be careful about that. And so, as the city manager negotiates with the chancellor and with the president of the university about putting together a master agreement or whatever they want to call it, a covenant, I think that we have to make sure that we have some protection in there for properties down the road going forward, that they don't just gobble those properties up and take those off the tax rolls. Because the economics of this deal are that it's a lot cheaper and it's a turnkey project for the university. So they're able to, for $61 million, they're able to, bam, they've already got several hundred dorms that they wouldn't have otherwise. And it would take them a lot longer and would be more expensive. It's a good deal, and there's plenty of other properties in the city now that would fall into the same category that the university, if they had the wherewithal, would be able to just gobble up one after the other, to the detriment of Lowell's tax base. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. That is exactly what I wanted to say, but you beat me to it. I honestly feel that this was the deal. I don't know how to prove it, but the university didn't have the authority to generate tax revenue, tax credits and different amenities that the developer did all those years ago. I was there for the open house at Perkins Park because I've been around since dirt. So I was there and I remember it. And I always had a funny feeling that being so close to the university, I wondered one day if this would ever turn into dormitories. And I never expected to hear what I'm hearing today. It was like it was heart-wrenching. But I firmly think that down the road, we have to be careful of this because Vision is building those dormitories, and yet, this is what bothers me. In the newspaper, there was a key suggestion from you, Mr. Manager, to protect the tax revenue on any future deals that if Vision were to resell the dormitories to a nonprofit, a pilot program would be mandatory for the nonprofit buyer. I thought this was a great idea. It was a start. We're thinking about our future and the future of our taxpayers. These people here are taxpayers too. This would keep tax revenue coming into the city and soften the blow from losing it all, as was the case with this UMass Lowell Perkins deal, which I hope never happens, but be that as it may. The planning board did not think that Manager Murphy's stipulation on the Vision project was relevant, and the whole board voted it down. Well, I certainly felt it was relevant, and I'm amazed and disappointed in the whole planning board. This is another fine example of people who evidently do not mind where their tax dollars if it increases. I'm so disgusted and disappointed with the planning board. I had the greatest respect for them, but I'm disappointed in that because we're trying everything we can to soften the blow when UMass Lowell takes over and becomes UMass Massachusetts and not Lowell, Massachusetts. We got to think about what's happening here, and is it out of our hands? What are we going to do? But I'm going to tell you right now, there is something going on right here on 6.8 where the authorize the manager to access agreement with UMass Lowell and the city regarding Marginal Street Sewer Relief Pipe Project. I don't know enough about that. I would like to withdraw that until we can come up with what that's all about. I really am disgusted. I really, truly am. Because it's like our hands are tied and something's coming through the city that's taken tax property off the tax roll. No teenies, now this. Is it ever going to cease? I don't know.
Mr. Manager?
I feel your frustration and I feel your pain, but I felt a lot of pain and a lot of frustration negotiating that marginal street easement. I mean, that was like negotiating the Louisiana Purchase. And it does benefit the city of Lowell, and it benefits UMass Lowell. And I think it's something that we need to move. I'm just saying I feel your frustration, but I don't think we should tie in the Marginal Street project to this issue because Mark Young would tell you we really need that easement. And it's taken us months and months and months to negotiate it with UMass Lowell over minor details. So I'm just saying I feel your frustration, but I don't think that's...
Well, I admire Marty Meehan for fighting so hard for what he believes in the university. I want you to have that same drive when you fight for the taxpayers in this city because I want equal here. I want equal. I want you to fight for this city as hard as he's fighting to expand the university. I want you to fight for the taxpayers. That's what I want.
Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. There's just more to this, Mr. Manager, than meets the eye in a sense. In your conversation that you will be having with the Chancellor, I mean, I think you can honestly state that there was no grandstanding by the City Council. There was no yelling by members of the City Council. I believe every City Councilor just expressed their serious concern about what is happening at this point. If you think about it, I mean, okay, just recently there's been some bumps in the road with our relationship with the university. But we know those bumps will be solved, and life will go on, and the university will become successful, City of Lowell will become successful. We want you to talk about our master plan. We want the university to talk about their master plan. But if you look at this and what's happened here tonight, it's almost the dream that we've been talking about since Pat Mogan wanted the national park, about what Lowell could be. And tonight was the essence of what Lowell could be. There's 3 master plans that are here tonight. One, the master plan of the university on how they'll grow and what they'll do for the city. There's the master plan of the city, what they will do to grow, to incorporate a company like Kronos, to become a college town. But all the 2 of them, their purpose will be to make Lowell a better place for its citizens. And what you had here tonight were citizens with their master plan on why they came to Lowell, why they want to live in Lowell, what they hope to do, what they want to aspire to. So I think in sitting down with the chancellor, it's talking about 3 master plans. And if we don't think about our citizens and what they want, everything that we're doing, everything we're talking about goes for naught. It really does. So I think it's just the way, the direction we have to go, because it is what Lowell's all about. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. So we're at the point, Mr. Manager, where when you do sit down and talk with the university, the point you have to make from what everybody here is saying tonight is that, we need to think of the year-round residents, not the residents that move in for 8 months or 7 months and they're in and they're out. And after hearing what these people said tonight, that's the whole thing. This is what we wanted. We wanted people to move to Lowell, spend their money in Lowell, love Lowell, and we've got it. And then, as other councilors have said, they just need to really sit down and look at the big picture and do the right thing. Sometimes, we go too fast and we lose our way, and I think that the university has grown so fast that they've lost their way on this, and they need to sit back, take a good look, and think about what's good for the city and university, and not just what's good for the university.
Councilor Leary.
Good question by Mayor Kennedy. I think the thing we should also learn is what is their bonding capacity and how does that play out? Because that's really, in any relationship, it's about, we trust each other, but you're going to need to have some verification and subjective measurements of what's really going on. I mean, if I really would envision it, and I think a lot of folks have said it different ways, is really the master plan is something that you really negotiate, Mr. Manager, with the chancellor and the university. And we really come back here and we endorse whatever that agreement is. I think it's imperative that the council really is a part of after you put this in place, but I think you need to put it in place for a variety of issues. We want the university to be successful. We want the university to be successful because it's our partner. I mean, from a business standpoint, they are going to draw other businesses into the community. That is going to establish and reduce and maintain our tax rates. Without that, we're not going to be that effective. We're not going to be that innovation center that we really are beginning to become. But the flip side of that is, too, we need a balanced relationship. We need a good, solid negotiation that's advantageous for both parties. So really, if I would envision it, you're really sitting down with the university and coming back with a agreement that makes sense for everybody. There's about 7 or 8 motions. They're all pretty good questions. I mean, I guess in essence, they're all pretty much the same. They're basically saying, what's going on? What can we do to prevent it in the future? How can we establish continue to establish the excellent relationship we have with the university? I guess we could almost take them all at once and put them in and have you come back with a report answering and addressing them all and coming back saying, here's what I'm trying to do to have that vision. And then once you have those discussions, really inviting the chancellor here to really solidify that relationship. I think part of it, though, too, has to go back to what we've heard tonight. What can we do? I know we're reaching out to different, WIN and whoever to manage that, but are there alternatives that we haven't thought about? Without making promises we can't keep, without giving false hopes, But at the same point, is there something else that can be mutually good for both sides? Right now, I can't think of what that avenue is, because my concern is what Councilor Samara said. I don't understand the whole picture with Mira. What would they do? They're trying to sell it. Why? I mean, they're losing money. Just a quick grab for profit? I don't understand that whole dynamic. If UMass Lowell doesn't buy, would they just sell it to somebody else? Would it become I don't know what that means, but that's something that we think we need to look into. Because I think Councilor Elliott put it pretty well. We just gave an agreement, and as soon as the agreement ends, they've wrapped it up. But they plan to do that prior to the agreement ending. I think you got the skill sets to do the negotiation, but I think we need to back you up and make sure it actually occurs. We want them, meaning UMass Lowell and UMass Amherst, to be successful. We want them to be successful because their success is our success in the long run, and we want to continue the good relationship we have. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
I had several fruitful conversations with President Meehan over the weekend. We were finally able to schedule a meeting with the Chancellor and her team for June 27th. In anticipation of that June 27th meeting, I sent out a draft master agreement relative to the taxation of the ICC and the repair of the Lower Locks Garage. I think it's a very reasonable agreement. It's reasonable for both sides, and it's the first step in resolving these issues that we've been encountering in the past several months. So I look forward to meeting with the Chancellor and her team to start that discussion, and we'll work as hard as we can. And I can tell you that the agreement that I sent to them, it helps UMass Lowell, and it helps the residents of Lowell, so it's a good agreement.
Councilor Manazzo.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Rourke. Again, I just want to come back to my balance point that I'm hoping through the negotiations, the meeting on the 27th, that we'll be able to get us to a point where there is some balance. Again, this Perkins purchase did come as a surprise, but it's not, as I think Councilor Leahy described it, that it's going to be occupied for 8 months and then empty. That's not the case. My understanding, this is graduate housing, going to be year-round apartments for graduate students and faculty, not freshmen through seniors, as I understand it. So, again, it's not your typical student housing. It's graduate housing plus housing for faculty. Again, doesn't satisfy the people that are here, but at the end of the day, with all due respect to Councilor Mercier, we can't be angry and start pulling things off the agenda because we're mad at the university. That's not how we as a professional administration conduct ourselves. And again, do I want to make everybody happy? Absolutely. But again, this is the real world. This is the private business transaction that we now hope the manager can reach some sort of balance with the developer and the university. But at the end of the day, it's graduate housing and faculty housing for the university. So again, I'm hoping that we can.
That's not true. That's not true. Read the paper.
Sometimes everything in the paper is not true. Doesn't matter. But again, thank you, Mr. Manager, and I fully expect a report. I hope we can bundle some of these to get a report back from you soon. Thank you.
Ma'am, sir, thank you, thank you very much. Any more comments for the council? With regards to the motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Back to the beginning of the agenda.
Okay.
We have 3 public hearings scheduled. First public hearing is for fuel storage for the Mockley Group. Request a license for storage of flammables at 2 Prince Avenue for 32,000 gallons of diesel, number 2 fuel. We'll open the hearing on behalf of the proponents. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? Anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
I'm with the
Markley Group.
Okay.
My name is William Tabor. I am an engineer with Vanessa Hagen Bruslin out of 101 Walnut Street in Watertown, Massachusetts. What we're proposing is the storage of 32,000 gallons of diesel fuel for emergency generators for the operation that's they're developing there at the site at 2 Prince Avenue. We have a representative from the Markley Company to explain the operations that they're developing.
Hello, I'm Louis Lepac. I have 39 Perkins Street in Lowell. So this project is currently 4 generators, 32,000 gallons of fuel, 4 8,000-gallon belly tanks, double wall belly tanks, and again, they're there for operations support only when power goes out, so emergency access. We run the generators approximately 10 minutes a week if there's not been a generator run, and they're fully licensed and fully documented.
Basically put together a plan of what the facility is going to look like when it's complete. That's the existing building, which is being redeveloped. You see these 4 white boxes here. These are the generators with 8,000-gallon belly tanks each at those locations. The tanks are double-walled with all of the latest code requirements for diesel fuel storage. We've submitted a complete set of plans to the fire department and the fire prevention group. They've been reviewed, and there are no issues with the fire department with the planned fuel storage at that location.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor?
Just, excuse me, one more thing. So when we came in front of the board originally, and we forecasted 30 generators and about 200,000 gallons of fuel for this site. Today we're still on about 200,000 gallons forecasted, but we're probably talking in the number of around 18 generators now. So we haven't found a home for those yet, and we haven't finished our engineering, but this is the first 4 to just support the data centers that we have in service now, and the one they're going to bring online in around September.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? Opposition?
Yes.
Opposition.
For starters, could I actually see where that's going to be, because that hasn't been presented to the local residents?
Basically,
Okay, the Manchester Road.
everybody wants to see it. And there were the generators there with the belly tanks below them. They're all above ground tanks.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Could I get your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Jacob Forts, and I reside at 36 Iowa Street in Lowell. So approximately 3 months ago, I came before you to speak about a street closure or proposed street sale in the area. At the time, you guys were taken by surprise by that. Seems as though that's not the first time that you guys have been surprised recently. Now, I heard an awful lot of conversation tonight about how people and residents of the city are impassioned. No offense to the people in that facility or the residency that's being taken over. To these folks, they're fairly new to the block. I've been born and raised. Unfortunately, I'm now back in that area due to circumstances beyond my control. However, when Markley Group came to town, I didn't oppose them at the time because the Prince Macaroni plant had long since sat dormant. Now, we've got the Markley Group there, and I thought that was a really good thing. However, through the whole process of them coming to town, through different dealings, things have been going on that just don't sit right with me. Our firehouse is on the other side of where this proposed street sale is, and they're going to close off the access to get to my street. You just saw in this diagram that those tanks are going to sit directly behind my house. So how on earth could you allow a proposed street sale to go through? Now, I know it's still pending, but it's looking like it's going to go through. And no offense to you, City Manager, I did not appreciate the day after Memorial Day getting a very short notice about having a meeting in the middle of the day when people do need to work, and then getting a phone call back from your office When the meeting was going on, saying, oops, we forgot to call you, yeah, the meeting's still going on, and they're doing a tour of the facility. I found out after the fact that's not what happened during that meeting. I'm not very happy with the lies. It's constantly going on. Now, with that said, I'm not entirely opposed to them putting those tanks there if they do not take that street. If they want the street, and I know LePac and all the other people, they came to us, we had a meeting, and I can tell you the date of it. They had a neighborhood association meeting. They do not want to play turkey with us. They don't want compromise at all. They want this. You ask them why they want this, they say safety. I'm like, if you look at their property right now, Councilor Elliott came over and saw the neighborhood. It is in dire disrepair. You're going to put these tanks right there, right behind my house, and their property, as of right now, is still not secure. They'll get up here and tell you that it is, but it is not. And I can tell you where it can be breached very easily because I've seen it done. Now, I told them I wasn't going to bring this up, but enough is enough. I've seen their property breached. If that costs them contracts, then so be it. At this point, you're going to put a bomb behind my house that if any of these kids that have been on the property get back in there again, then what's to say that they're not going to reach these double-walled tanks, and I know that that's another, like a safety measure for it, and do something with them that couldn't potentially have one of them explode. Now, if you close off that access route for the fire department to easily get to my street and they have to go around, and heaven forbid there's a problem at the corner of Gorham and Moore Street, they will never get to my property in time, and it will be gone. Not to mention, if one of them were to catch fire, I can only imagine the resulting explosion would just level my house anyway. So I'm like, I just don't understand where this is coming from with the Markley Group. When they had originally come before you, they were going to put it, if you don't mind, they were originally supposed to put all of their generators on the backside of the property over here. Now, if you see here, this is an industrial and open area here. There's nothing there. This whole thing down here is a residential neighborhood. I live on this street right here. The tanks are all in here and the generators are right here. Now, this looks like it's further away than it actually is. If you would like to come to my neighborhood and actually see where I live, to show you how much of a stone's throw it is actually to the current generators there, and if you've got a nice good arm, you can easily hit one of their generators if you wanted to by throwing a stone. It's not that distance away. I don't know how that's made to look like it is, but if you look at where they're building out to and where our property is, it's right in our backyard. So that is why I'm strictly, if they're going to go ahead with the street sale, I'm strictly opposed to the location of this. It needs to go on the backside of the property, which is how it was proposed to us when they first came to the city of Lowell. My opposition to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition?
Yes, my name is Nancy Forts. I am the owner of that house in back of there. And I totally agree with what was just said by Jacob. It is like a bomb to put that so close to my house. Even I could probably hit the generator myself, and I'm not a good thrower. That's how close that would be. And I like the idea that Markley is here and everything, but I think it should go where it originally was proposed to go, where there isn't as many houses. And with the closure, if the new street gets sold, and the closure of Carter Street and Prince Ave, it would take all the longer for those fire trucks and emergency vehicles to get to that thing if something should happen with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing's closed for the people who speak in opposition and open up to the City Council. Council Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager. Mr. Manager, has the fire department been involved in this?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through, yes. Yes, I met with Chief Winwood today, and he signed off and has approved this plan for Markley Group.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further? Council Leahy.
Sure, thank you. Through you, the manager. So how many generators are going now, and then how many in the future? Are there more planned? maybe I should ask.
Mr. Mayor, do you know anything about the no? I don't really know how many generators. Can you just talk to that, Mr. Mayor?
Presently, they're planning on installing 4 generators, each with its own belly tank, and where we had showed. In the future, they're looking to add as many as up to 18 more generators.
With
and
the
fuel to
belly
go
tanks?
Well, these would have separate tanks. The new generators, I believe, are going in the building.
So the engineering is not complete. It's went through several cycles. Today, we're looking at using the silo area of the building and housing the generators inside, fuel tanks to be located on the back side or on the left side. But those are up in flux. We're still looking at this other area, but it was closer to the stream too. So it just didn't make economical sense because we built on the right side of the property to put the generators 400 feet away, and that's millions of dollars of cable for every generator. So this was, I think, the best engineering decision for our group for this particular phase. And the next phase will be either most likely inside the building.
But where's the fuel, though?
The fuel, it can go on the far side. So again, we haven't picked that design out yet, but it could be. So this is where we originally were going to put them. So we still can put fuel tanks there. They could be back here, even back here, but this is the area that we're talking about putting the generators in at the moment. So this is what we call the silo area of the building, where the old grain silos were. And so they would go in and they would be stacked, so they'd be inside the area and be quiet, and so they would exhaust out the very top of the building. And the fuel will most likely be in this area here. It could be in this room here.
Okay. All right. And then, so the fire department signs off on it, but is the fire station across the house equipped to handle a,
Yes.
something happens?
Yes, they are. And also, when they talk about access to the property, I mean, they've already provided that the fire trucks can go right through the fence. They have access to the property.
For the property for the fire department.
Yeah, the fire department has complete access to the
Existing road and then.
Sir, you have to talk in the.
There's existing access for the fire department, and the roadway has been made. They went through with the fire department for the roadway that goes around the side of the building by where the tanks are. Was actually made bigger, increased in size at the request of the fire department so that they could set up their larger trucks there if need be.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. So, the concerns of the neighbors, if you've been over there, it's a very densely populated neighborhood. Would you be opposed to moving those tanks? I don't think there's opposition to the generators. I think they just are concerned, it's good to have a fire department right down the street, but if those tanks explode, it's going to be too late. So is the plan finalized so you can move the 4 8,000-gallon tanks that are going to hold diesel fuel?
Yes, there are 4 tanks, belly tanks under each one of the generators. Each holds 8,000 gallons. They're double-wall tanks. They're when the construction is completed, they will be within a fenced-in area and protected.
Well, you can imagine if you were living next to them, you'd have some concerns if you could throw a stone and there were, 32,000 gallons of diesel being stored. What was the original change from where they were going to be constructed, which is on the complete opposite side, which is not really residentially populated. I believe it's Newhall Street, and there's industrial.
Well, originally it was over closer to the Hales Brook in that area, but we chose to build the building in a different manner. So building the main building is a long, drawn-out process. A year and a half of engineering plus 3 years of building, and we had clients waiting. So we chose to build immediately on the right side of the property and rebuild a few buildings, and those are the ones up. And so the generators were moved closer to that, to where the need is. And so the same thing. So diesel fuel is not like gasoline. It doesn't explode. It has a very high ignition point, and so it's much safer. And So we have another building in downtown Boston, the Macy's, and we have much more fuel than that right under the Macy's. And that's a close proximity to downtown Boston. And so they're licensed there without any difficulty too.
Okay, I work right across the street from Macy's, so now I'm a little more concerned. So just to address one of the other residents, will there be access for emergency vehicles to go down Carter Street? I mean, is that going to be completely shut off? I mean, or will it be? That's what their concern is.
I understand. So yes, Carter is planned to be shut. Prince Avenue, it does have a gate that has emergency access. So does our main street, new location. It will have, so we've issued MOUs to the city for fire, for police, for ambulance, and we've met with all of them. And so we've tried to make every accommodation, plus there's an entrance on Andrew Street, which is to the back of our property, and we have access through that way as well. So I know there's a station back on Lawrence, and they can come in. They've asked about getting access, and we've said, yes, you can have emergency access that way as well.
Okay. Okay,
You all
thank you.
set, Counsel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Counsel Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, that map, sir, that you're showing, why don't we have that in front of us for tonight?
I set this up for here. Wasn't asked to send you an electronic copy. I sent electronic copies to the fire department, full sets of plans to them.
I mean, just for future reference, I think it's the second time this has happened with regards to the Motley Group of not having all the information. I mean, this is a pretty big vote, I'm sure, for both the council and for the group. You know, I would hope in the future that all information is provided to us ahead of time, so, you know, we're not just kind of, you know, given the process ahead of time. I mean, if this gentleman in the back wasn't here, we'd have a different idea of where the actual placement of the flammables would be than, you know, what that map says. So, you know, I would hope in the future that, you know, we're given all the information pertinent to the vote. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Counsel Milonazo.
I'll move approval.
We motion to approve. Do we have a second to the motion? We have a second by Counsel Leary. Discussion on the motion? Counsel Marcia?
I was concerned about the fact that they closed Carter Street and Prince Avenue, but to know now that they have a gate that the public safety vehicles have access to through a remote control or whatever, that makes me feel a lot safer, and I hope that it seems like it doesn't make you feel safer. Why don't you believe?
If I might. So if you look at this very diagram, this has been the bone of contention with us back and forth with them. So they're saying that there's a gate. So you still have to come around, and I think actually in this picture you can kind of see where the firehouse is. It's right here. So if they're going to close this off, as you see here, there's shrubberies. This is Carter Street here with the Cardinal O'Connell School here. So they're going to close it off here. There's no gate here. This is logically the quickest way to get to this facility is through here. They still have to come around and go down here. Now the problem is that this intersection is going to become congested because a lot of people have figured out through the years that this is a bypass route. So this area here, if you have people trying to take a left-hand turn, which is, it's not wide enough to do that, and then you have the people going straight. This whole area is congested here. If something goes on, you have to send the fire trucks through here to get through this congested area, and then up into here or up through here. The problem is this area over here being closed off.
Could you show me where that gate is on this chart?
It's right here, the one
Oh,
he's
I'm
talking
asking
about.
him to show me. Where is this gate on this chart? The fence or wherever.
Over here is the gate.
Do you see where he's pointing?
Yes, we've gone back and forth about this at a neighborhood meeting multiple times.
So he says you can get through, and you're saying you can't.
No, through here. This is the quickest way from the firehouse is right here. The firehouse is here.
But he's making an attempt to let you get in there.
Through over here, but the problem is here. This intersection is notoriously bad. In rainstorms, which is what I brought up to you guys before in March, that area notoriously floods. So I'm like, then just that alone, that you have a low clearance bridge right there on the other side of that intersection, which constantly has trucks stuck underneath it. Then, when you look at what's been going on in our neighborhood with power poles, I know he's trying to say that this is the thing. My thing is that the emergency access routes, so far, since they even proposed this street project, have been proven time and time and time again that it can't work, because we've had people wrap themselves around power poles at length on a month-and-a-half basis, and when they do that, they reroute the traffic through there. So they're closing off the whole access to the entire neighborhood. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the emergency access doesn't make sense.
Well, he's saying there's a gate and they have access.
Right.
And it's pretty much quicker than going all the way down to the, where you're saying, to the corner near the bridge.
No. If you look, how do they get there? Look at how they get there. So the firehouse is there. They close this off.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me there's a gate here?
No, there's no gate.
Where's the gate?
It's over here.
The gate is right here.
No, it's here. The gate is here.
So how are they getting from the fire station into this point?
They have to go down and around.
Are you saying they're coming up around like this?
Yes.
So there's a fire station here, and there's a fire station there.
Way back over here.
So they can come from two different directions.
Councilman, you all set?
I thought it was much simpler than that, but it made it more confusing.
Okay. So, you're done?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman.
Just, I think, quick question too. I think part of it is too, like access. I know a lot of, I use it as a cut through when I come through Lawrence Street. I'll cut through there too. We might want to do something similar. We're not having outside traffic in that area, so it's a neighborhood traffic. We do something similar off of Stevens Street up in that neighborhood by the cross point, 'cause a lot of folks try to cut through because of the light there. That might be one solution there. Also, question, where are we with Carter Street? Is that something that's definite, or is that something, how far along are we with that?
Mr. Manager.
As Mr. Fortes mentioned, we did set up a meeting that was coordinated through Carol McCarthy and the Sacred Heart Neighborhood Group, and we did meet at the site. They had some concerns about, they'd like to make Livingston Street one-way, which our traffic engineer is looking into. They had an issue with the sidewalk. They had an issue with a dead-end sign. We're addressing all of those issues, and I think that the plan may be ready to come in 2 weeks from now, as far as a proposal to the council.
So I think, that, I use the area a lot, running in that area and as a cut through. I think if we look at really making that a neighborhood access, because if you're looking at it, it does make sense because you have one fire station coming from Gorham, but then you have the access coming back through Lawrence Street. So you do have it coming from like both sides, which makes a lot of sense. But you got to make sure people, like you said, if there's a truck that gets stuck underneath that underpass, the railroad bridge, you got to be able to make sure it's only the neighborhood folks that are in that neighborhood. The other issue, which I think is, we haven't mentioned it, it's not part of this, but that area is susceptible to water floods in that area, right on Moore and Gorham. We need to take a look at that, because if we are going to grow in that area, with not only with this company, but hopefully just common sense for the neighbors in there, it's a pretty heavy area where a lot of folks live. It's not appropriate. We're going to need to take a look at that in terms of fixing it. I'm going to definitely vote for this, but I do share the gentleman's concerns. I think as we go forward with Carter Street, is it really necessary to take? Is it necessary for us to take a look at something that we do at Stevens Street? If the streets that are near Crosspoint, we do something similar to it. Probably should do that here as well. But I do like the access where you can come from Lawrence Street in the back and from Gorham Street with fire equipment. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion to approve. The motion is second. Could I just ask one question? I think everybody's happy to have the market group in that property. The property has been dormant for a long, long time. But it also isn't downtown Crossing. It's a residential neighborhood. And you've got neighbors there that have been there before you got there. And you're going to be with them for a long, long time. And so is it possible to move the tanks, or is that cost prohibitive? Or is there something that can be done as far as the access to alleviate some of the concerns of the neighbors? So that's a question that I just would like to ask each of you. And my suggestion would be, going forward, that you try to include the neighbors in your decision-making process going forward.
So I think it is cost prohibitive to move the tanks. They're in the logical location for the generators. There's nothing simpler than a generator with a tank sitting on top of it to operate. So, yeah, moving them would be very difficult and very costly.
And so the second part of the question was access of emergency vehicles. Is this something that you can do to alleviate
So
their
I
concerns?
think we've really worked with all the agencies to facilitate access. And again, we've met with emergency vehicles, fire departments as well, and saying, if this street is closed, how will you get there? If this is closed, how will you get there? And I think we've all reached conclusion that there's nothing that's going to occur that we can't, that they won't have access. And we've made access through our property, open to, the 3 emergency departments.
Okay, it's my understanding that the fire chief concurs with that.
Yeah, I believe so. Certainly we met with the ambulance department, and they were supportive of this too.
Right, but you also said you're putting 18 more tanks going forward down the road?
Generators, not necessarily tanks.
Generators,
Yeah,
okay.
but the tanks will go in a different place. They will not be here. Because when the next growth is going to be for the main building, and so those tanks, they could be on the other side, they could be in back. We have not determined yet where we're going to put them, so that still plan is in flux.
Okay.
So it's a couple of years away.
Okay.
From fruition.
Okay, thank you. Council Leahy.
I have just one quick question for you. So the concerns of the neighborhood, and probably some of us until we know what the fuel does, when you build these tanks, they're belly tanks and they're underground or just
Oh,
under
they're
the
on top
jet?
of the ground. They're on a concrete base.
Yeah.
And they are about 4 feet, about the size of the generator, about 4 feet high. Again, they're double-walled steel construction. The generator then sits on top of those.
Okay, so it's cost prohibitive to move them, but does anybody produce a fence that you put 10 feet away that if there were a explosion, it wouldn't go into
we
the
have a
neighborhood?
retaining wall right next to us, which you can't really see from this drawing, but there is a retaining wall. So there, we'll call this zero height. There's a retaining wall that goes up, and we have about 15 feet of elevation change behind there. And so there will be another fence up the top as well. And, well, and again, there is a block retaining wall that goes up and then supports a terrace kind of a planting effect. And then at the very top of that is probably where another fence will go.
Okay, so with engineering and specialties, if there were an explosion, does it not go towards the neighborhood and go to does it direct it safely somewhere?
Well, I mean, again, this retaining wall is exactly next to it, so, and the retaining wall is higher than the tanks, so.
Is the retaining wall safe for an explosion?
I don't think we've asked that question, but it's a concrete.
All right, well, that's what the neighbors are asking. So if people install gasoline tanks or diesel tanks, you would think logically they would make a wall that would contain any type of an explosion. So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Would it be
I can't
practical to put that in to ease people's minds, or is that cost prohibitive too?
Perhaps
Well,
you can
we're
answer.
talking about diesel fuel, not gasoline for one.
And that's what we don't understand either because we don't have information in front of us.
Okay.
So,
The tanks are designed to meet all the code requirements, both national, federal, local, and standards. They've been reviewed by the fire department. They're not obviously an explosion hazard, the way they're located or the way they're installed and operated. So spending extremely exorbitant amount of money to build explosion walls around them doesn't make any economic or realistically any sense. So, but this meets all the code requirements and is not a, quote, explosion hazard.
okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing is National Grid Verizon New England requesting permission to relocate a pole, a 34-foot pole north of the current location and to install a pole on the east side of Lawrence Street. We open the hearing on behalf of the proponents. Those who wish to speak in favor?
Hi, I'm Michelle Stacy. I'm a representative for National Grid, and we're here to ask permission to move that pole 10 feet and to install the other pole. And also the conduit, it's part of the Prince project.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor?
Good, excuse me, good evening, Lisa DeMayo, the city engineer. This project is for the benefit of Markley and will be a great benefit to having them move forward with what they're doing. So I also support this project.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ann Murray with Leidos Engineering. We're doing the design work, and I'm also here to speak in favor of the relocation and the installation of the pole and conduit.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none, we'll close the hearing for the opponents and open it up to the city council. Do we have a motion approved? We have a motion approved by Councilor Mercy, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Oh, I'm sorry. The proper motion would be referred to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercy, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Roll call. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Next public hearing is National Grid Verizon New England request permission to install a pole on Industrial Avenue. Open up the hearing for the proponents. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
Again, Michelle Stacy, represent National Grid, asking permission to install the pole. It's installed.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening. The engineering department supports this project as well.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none. We'll close the hearing for the opponents. Open it up to the city council.
Move approval.
We've a motion.
For the wire.
Motion referred to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Milanaz, second by Councilor Mercy. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. And the next public hearing is from National Grid, request permission to install approximately 125 feet of 2 to 4 inch conduit encased in concrete on Lawrence Street. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor.
That was also for the Prince project that I had said when I came up before.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor?
The engineering department supports this one as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor?
Yes, Anne Murray from Leidos Engineering, and it's actually 2 5-inch conduit, not 4.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents, opening it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? And in opposition? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing for the opponents, open it up to the city council.
Refer to the wire inspector.
We have a motion referred to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. That concludes the public hearings for the evening. And we'll go back to the beginning of the agenda.
Your Honor?
Yes, Council Leahy.
Could I just ask, it's getting late, so could I just ask if my colleagues would indulge me, if we could just take 5-2, 5-3, and 5-4 out of order because we have people waiting, and then we can jump into the motions.
Second to suspend.
Suspend.
All right, Council Leahy has asked that we suspend the rules. By general consent, we'll suspend the rules unless there's objection. Hearing no objection, the rules are suspended in order to take up items 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4. We'll take up 5.2 first, which is a communication to reappoint Kevin Dillon, William Lovely, Caitlin Bydron, and Jeffrey McDonough to the Conservation Commission. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion approved by Council Leary, seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion.
Motion to accept the communication.
Accept and place on file, but all in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next, a communication to appoint Janelle Diaz to the Lowell Commission on Disability. We have a motion to approve by Counsel Leary, seconded by Counsel Leahy. Discussion on the motion? Yeah. Do you want to speak? Well, wait till we take the vote so that yeah. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
Okay.
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity to serve as a voice for the differently abled population in the city of Lowell. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to being a part of change. Thank you.
Next is a communication to appoint Brandon Crocker to the Hunger Homeless Commission. Do we have a motion to accept and place on file? Motion to accept and place on file by Counsel Leary, seconded by Counsel Leahy. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Oh, is he here? Does Brandon Crocker want to speak? Sure. Okay.
So, just, I've been involved with food pantries ever since, actually, I used to be a student at UMass Lowell, so I've been involved with it for about 6 years. So, I've come aboard Catholic Chair of this food pantry about 6 months ago, and I'm just glad I can be able to help our city. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, going back to the beginning of the agenda, under the mayor's business, we have a communication for a resolution regarding the keeping the cap on charter schools in Massachusetts. And if there's no objection, we will take that up concurrently with item 10.22, which is a motion. So that's a motion. We have a second to the motion? Second to the motion by Counsel Leary. Discussion on the resolution. Counsel Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do supporting you on your resolution. I thank you for bringing this in front of the council. But I would like to take this time to go out regarding the charter school, but slightly go off topic a little bit, and express publicly some displeasure with the lack of transparency that's going on at the charter school. Now, it's certainly at a time where assessments continue to go up and reimbursements go down. That's discouraging as it is. But we have a situation there where a principal is more or less forced to resign, and parents, taxpayers, and city council can't get answers, okay? That doesn't float with me, okay? They are a public entity. They are receiving public money. They should have to be under the same rules and regulations as the Lowell School Committee and the Lowell City Council. So I want to take this time, again, to express some displeasure in their lack of communication to the public and people that fund them. So I can only finish by stating that if this continues, I know my support for the charter school will go down. I can tell you that. So I don't know how my colleagues feel. I'm only one vote in this council, but I don't like what I'm seeing. And I'm sure the parents that have children at school don't either, and I know the taxpayers aren't pleased as well. So I wanted to take time and go on record to state that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, the minutes of the City Council meeting of May 31st for acceptance. The Chair will entertain a motion to accept and place on file. We have a motion by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Samaras to accept and place the minutes on file. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under communications from the city manager, we have items A through N. So we'll start with item A, the impact on the pending transformative development initiative. Any discussion on item A? Council Milonazo.
Thank you. I just want to thank the administration for the report and to recognize two local companies, Lowell Makes Collaborative, who received $62,000 to support their expansion, and then New Vestures, who received $150,000 under the TDI program. So that's very good news. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item A? Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was a good motion, and I think it is a beneficial program. The Governor's Economic Development Bond Bill, it either has come out today or it's coming out tomorrow morning, and it includes $50 million for TDI. So I think the city, they look to fund projects that will have sort of a localized impact, and I'm hoping that, our planning development office, they did apply to be a TDI district and wasn't approved, but my understanding is they're looking to expand upon these districts. I mean, there are 26 gateway cities and only 10 of them are funded, so I believe that there's opportunity in the future to proceed, and lots of grant funding, not loans, but grant funds are available through this program. So I'm sure you'll keep us surprised with this, Mr. Manager, but there's good funding on the horizon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item A? If not, we'll move on to item B, which is the Business Improvement District Survey. Any discussion on item B? Hearing none, we'll move on. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, quickly. Just, so the report basically says that they're gonna do some summer, an outreach program over the summer, and I know that yourself and Attorney Gallagher have done a lot of work on this, so look forward to seeing the results at the end of the summer. It seems like a good idea, so we'll see what happens. But again, I know that yourself and a couple of people in the downtown area have done a lot of work with this, so let's see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item B? If not, we'll move on to item C, mosquito control. Any discussion on mosquito control? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We will be spraying for mosquitoes. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on C? If not, moving on to D, the Pine Arts School Traffic Supervisor. Councilor Leary.
Just thank you for the report. I guess this next year we'll start with the appropriate folks, and thank you for working with the school. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item D? If not, moving on to item E, the Huntoon Avenue update. Any discussion on that item? Councilor Mercia.
I'd just like to try to make Huntoon Avenue an accepted street. I know that we received a memo from Lisa DeMayo, the city engineer, on the steps it takes. And I know it's time-consuming, and I know that you're very busy in your office, but I'd like to do like 5 a year, and I hope that that would be one of them. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on that item? If not, we'll move on to parking agreements. Any discussion on parking agreements? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Parking Director Nick Navin for the response, and it's rather extensive. There's a lot to discuss on this. I mean, it's a heavy agenda this evening. So what I'd like to do is refer this to the downtown subcommittee to review in depth, because there's some agreements here that are very old, and there's some entities here getting a sweetheart of a deal in some of our garages. I think some of these need to be looked at in depth, and I don't think tonight is the right arena for it, Mr. Mayor. So that being said, I'd like to refer it to the downtown subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger makes a motion to refer this to the downtown subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. No, I agree with Councilor Belanger, but I'd also like to bring up the point that this was a well-done report. It really shows the difficulty that the administration has in dealing with finding parking spaces. But one of the things I'd like to throw out, it talks about, for example, how Middlesex Community College is one of the largest users in the downtown. And we have places like Colley Stadium with huge parking lots. Has it ever been entertained about maybe some of the certain users to put the cars out at Colley Stadium or a place like that and start shuttling people in to give us the available space? Because till we build other garages, we're going to have a lot of difficulty there.
Mr. Manager.
I know we have a shuttle from the Ayotte Garage to the Farley White property, but that's something we can look into in anticipation of the subcommittee hearing on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item F? If not, we'll move on to item G, financial and infrastructure impact of Marisco. Go ahead.
Thank
Councilor.
you. Thank you for the work. I appreciate the analysis. Thank you.
Next is security and supervision of
Just a minute.
Nesmith Street property. Councilor Rowley.
I'm just on that. I didn't file a motion, but I do recall when we introduced the individual doing the energy work, I figured the name, just to get a report on the financial position of the solar, the landfill at the solar field. So I didn't, it was not a formal motion, so I wasn't surprised it wasn't part of this motion, but it'd be good to know how, oh, it is in there?
It's a M.
Oh, okay, sorry. Come on.
Any further discussion? Okay, moving on. H, security and supervision of Nesmith Street property. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I want to thank Superintendent Police Taylor for this report. Deputy Webb led a group to meet with the people that run the Nesmith Street group home, and I think this is a good report. But to me, it's a very troubling report because it really talks about some of the issues that they deal with. They also talk about regulations that have been changed that make it difficult for both the staff and members of the police to basically supervise some of these young men and young women. It's to the point where, as it's stated, the facility is not a lockup facility. They're not allowed to use restraints, cannot prevent people from leaving. If people leave, they're just to follow them. If a police officer were to meet them on the street, the police officers, he or she must attempt to get them to voluntarily go back to the units. I've had enough experience with dealing with certain groups of young men and women. This is a group that really needs far more supervision than what they are receiving, or have far more freedoms than they should have, because the report also talks about an increase in the past 6 months they have been identified in crimes, incidents in the neighborhoods, stealing cars. The students there have been identified causing problems. I'd like the city manager to talk with the superintendent of police about maybe changing the direction of this discussion. The staff have talked about wanting to meet with the neighborhoods and what neighborhood people and things like that. But you have a building that is holding students that require other type of, we'll say, restraint or other type of supervision. These students literally are running at will in this program. We can't have that in our neighborhoods. And I'm looking to suggest to the manager that the possibility of requesting that this program be withdrawn from the city of Lowell. I think if we were really truly look at this, it's not what is expected. This is not helping those young men and women. It's basically what I see, allowing them to do what they want to do. And I've dealt with enough programs like this in the past where they can be trouble for the principals in schools in many areas. We need to help these young men and women, but you have to put them in the right program with the right type of supervision. I think this is an area that's not working, and all indicators are there that it's not working. Police are there every single day. That is not management of youth. That is just putting our police at risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this? This one, Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I agree with what Councilor Samaras said, and this comes up time and time again at the neighborhood subcommittee meetings, and it's just a drain on our resources, and it's just not the right program in a city setting or in any neighborhood. So whatever we need to do, talk with our state legislators, our senator, But this isn't, helping anybody. This is a program that's designed to fail, is when you look at it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So whatever we can do to, Mr. Manager, you have more experience in this coming from the legislature. So whoever we need to talk to, this program just doesn't seem to work, And so whatever we can do, maybe that's the approach we should look at. Thank you.
Council Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager. Mr. Manager, is this a nonprofit organization?
Yes, it is, and it's one that just took, we went through this a year ago, and then a new group takes it over. We go through the same thing all over again. You make some great points. One of the things that we find out is that some of these residents need a more secure environment, and I probably need to have a meeting with the juvenile court to discuss about the placements for the time being, and then the efficacy of the program in the long run in Lowell.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item I, downtown banners. Any discussion on downtown banners? If not, we'll move on to the DPD data position. Any discussion on the DPD data position? If not, move on to 268 Mount Vernon Street. Any discussion on 268 Mount Vernon Street? Hearing none, we'll move on to item L, traffic and pedestrian patterns on Chelmsford Street. Any discussion?
Just
Councilor
quick,
Leary.
thank you for the report, I appreciate it. We spoke about it earlier today. The reason for it was really, it's about 2 miles long, as it says in the report. It's going to run from Lord Overpass with the changes. I think what we need to do now is we could get into it tonight a little bit, but I think we should probably make a motion to refer it to the traffic subcommittee for further detail. I look at this as a working document. The premise, I think, really was a lot of folks on Chelmsford Street and streets off of it, they're all looking for different crosswalks. We already voted for one since I've been on, and I think before we do this master review of it, spend a lot of money, let's really look into detail what it needs. So I think more discussion, more review. I think it's a nice outline as to where you are today. So make that as a form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Council Leary to refer this to the traffic department, second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next two items are informational from the city manager. Item M is the solar energy production from the city's solar fields. Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Rourke.
Yeah, just very briefly, thank you. This is a good report, Mr. Manager, and it is getting late, and I think this warrants a longer and more thorough discussion on the savings that we have earned. So I'd like to make a motion to send this to the Finance Subcommittee, just because there's still 2 pages of the agenda left to go through.
Okay, we have a motion by Council Elliott to refer this to the Finance Subcommittee, second by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The last motion response from the city manager is Working Cities Grant. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to make a comment on this, because this is a very, very good initiative for the city and to the Acre neighborhood in general. It's a grant to the tune of almost $500,000 that we're going to see over a 3-year period in the Acre, which is an area that this council's been concentrating on. But this isn't a grant that you're going to see necessarily on facade and bricks and mortar. This is for things in the Acre, for the residents of the Acre, to help break the cycle of poverty. Such things like early childhood readiness, economic development, language and cultural leadership barriers, and transportation issues to help get the residents of Acre to employment. So this is a very, very good, unique initiative here in the city of Lowell that is more or less a hand up for folks to help break the barrier of poverty in a neighborhood where we face a 40% unemployment rate. That is absurd. Through all the input sessions we've had, and Kevin Coughlin spearheaded through, we've had about 6 of them, and that's what we've discovered, a 40% unemployment rate. Out of 1,400 residential units, 1,100 are subsidized low income. So we need to do something to help break these families that are just in a vicious cycle of poverty. So this will help break that. I truly believe that. I think it's a great initiative. I want to commend Kevin Coughlin, all the hard work and his several input sessions that he had to get all this valuable information and to ultimately get awarded the grant. I think it's a great day for the Acre, that this is a difference maker, this initiative, and I want to congratulate Kevin and all the hard work and planning and development and all the hard blood, sweat, and tears that went into this initiative, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I want to, follow Council Belanger in thanking the city for this. Actually, a while back, I made the original motion for the DPD to work with the neighborhood, work in the neighborhood corridor between the Smith Baker Center and the university. And what I asked for was that they would work with the business owners, the neighbors, the residents, the people who make up that corridor. And like many times, the administration in this city has exceeded our requests. And this is an example of the city manager working with Diane Trad, exceeding the request, and having a group formed together under the leadership of Kevin Coughlin to work with John Dark, many of the nonprofits, to really come up with, one, getting a grant that's very difficult. A grant is a $500,000 grant. That's one thing. But also, what they've done here is they've created a program in which they will have a model to work with all the other neighborhoods. And I think this is important, and I think it's worth spending the time on. I'd actually like to have Kevin Coughlin, if the manager or the mayor would mind, to come up and say a few words as to what this grant really entails and why it's so important to the city at this time, if you'd bear with me. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors, and I appreciate all the fine comments. I can add to the comments and won't repeat. This grant is about something that the Federal Reserve feels very strongly about, and also for the private funders to which contribute to the resources, and that is system change. So it truly is a new model, a different way of doing things, and as Councilor Belanger indicated, the high poverty rate and the systemic issues that have been going on in the acre for so many years, identifying poverty, unemployment, all the subsidy and all the social services that go there. Past years have not necessarily proven to make it better. And this is a way to try and look at things differently and to join together in a different format to create that model that can be used in other areas of the city, and hopefully it will be successful. As part of our goals, we wish to increase by 10% the incomes of the households in the subsidized target area. Also increase by 10% the number of adults who obtain employment and move out of poverty statistically, and also have a 10% increase in the number of preschool children who are developmentally ready, and that's been proven to be a marker for long-term development and success. I think, just briefly, I want to recognize, though there has been good words directed toward myself, I'd like to recognize the partnership, because the collaboration of this effort is what's made the difference and made it successful, as well as the community outreach in the neighborhood. There are 12 other partners that have joined with the city in this project, the city of Lowell being one, and the co-leader Coalition for a Better Acre, the Acre Coalition to Improve Our Neighborhood, the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, the Career Center of Greater Lowell, Community Teamwork, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, Lowell Community Health, Jean d'Arc Credit Union, the Lowell Housing Authority, Middlesex Community College, Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, and the University of Massachusetts in Lowell. We have three major areas of our concentration in order to try and affect this system change. It's early childhood, school development, economic development in many areas, and there'll be subcommittees and efforts going off that, and also language and inclusion to really embrace some of the social issues and citizen participation in the areas of government. And lastly, I'd like to say, in addition to the partners, always behind that is also others in the team from the development department that work so hard, and I want to recognize Chris Samaras, who's worked very hard and been shoulder to shoulder on all these efforts for that tonight too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item N? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept all of the communications from the city manager and place them on file. We have a motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo to do that. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item on the agenda is item 5.5, which is a communication to accept the resignation of Eileen Donahue from the Civil Stadium Commission. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the communication, place it on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Elliott.
just through you to City Manager. The Civic Commission still exists, and I guess my question is why, and I'm presuming it was included as part of the statute or the special act? Or do we need it?
Mr. Manager.
Yes, yes, and yes, because they had to approve the transfer of the lease from the from the Drew Weber Group to the David Heller Group. So we had to resurrect and find all the members, have a meeting, and approve the transfer of the lease. So we do need them because of the statute.
It's in the statute, right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item is a communication with the city manager to request out-of-state travel for one person in the Lowell Police Department. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion approved by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion, roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Under votes from the city manager, we have,
Mr. Mayor?
yes,
May I make a motion we bundle 6-1 through 6-6?
yes, you may. We have a motion to bundle 6-1 through 6-6.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Belanger. Discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Just a quick question through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, what's the number of unions that you have now settled contracts with after, or should I say, how many more are outstanding?
I think there are 17 unions. There are 17 unions, and we have 3 outstanding.
3 outstanding.
To settle, and we're close on we're close on all of those
And
remaining.
what are the 3 of them that remain? I mean, rather than go through this whole list.
SEIU, the nurses, and the firefighters.
Okay, and you're close to settling those?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to bundle, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Motion to approve by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
I believe it's going to be a roll call.
Those are roll calls.
Roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to apply, accept, and expend the amount of $53,799 for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for FY 2016. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, and the second reading would be authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and expend funds from the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program for FY 2016 in the amount of $53,799. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a construction access agreement between the University of Massachusetts in Lowell and the city regarding marginal street sewer relief pipe project. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and move on to the second reading. The second reading is authorizing the city manager to execute a construction access agreement between the city of Lowell and the University of Massachusetts Lowell relative to the city's marginal sewer relief pipe project, a portion of which will be constructed on the and under University's Riverview parking lot located at 900 Broadway Street in Lowell. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to transfer $2,000 to Inspector Education Training. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. And the second reading is to transfer $2,000 to fund Building Inspector Education reimbursement. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Samaras. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is vote to accept or expend $100,000 from Lowell General Hospital to the Health Department for a feasibility study on substance abuse prevention in the Lowell School District. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading, the full first reading, and the second reading would be to expend $100,000 from Lowell General Hospital to the Health Department feasibility study on substance abuse prevention in the Lowell School District. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Samaras. Discussion on the motion, Counsel Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this is great news. $100,000 grant to implement substance abuse education into the Lowell Public School curriculum. This is good stuff. But I do have a quick question, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Now, part of this is a feasibility study, Mr. Manager. It appears it's going to be conducted, the Center of Program Evaluation at UMass Lowell, but what is, somebody can answer me what the cost might be? I mean, obviously, there's an issue. I don't know why we're conducting a feasibility study. I'd like to see all this money go into prevention, to be quite honest. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Director of Health and Human Services, Karen Vigru, could you answer that question for the council?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Actually, it's only $20,000 that's being put towards the feasibility study. The remaining $80,000 will be spread over 2 years for the implementation. The feasibility is really around identifying evidence-based programs that are going to work in the school at the appropriate age and with the appropriate content, so that we can help the schools implement it more than, teachers just looking for programs that they think might work. So that's what the feasibility study is about, is identifying the appropriate program.
Okay. Now, another question I may have. Thank you. That was an appropriate answer. I can accept that. But we plan on touching the first year 300 students. Geez, I know it's age. A topic like this is sensitive. It's age appropriate. I understand, and I will leave that to the educators to decide what levels. But you know what? I got to be honest. That seems like a low. With 14,000 students, that seems like a low number for this kind of money. Is that going to grow over the years, or what's going on there?
So you're right. Initially, they're looking at piloting it probably at one of the middle school grades to start it off at that point. So that's why the number is smaller. We really have to see if it's working, identify any issues with the school being able to implement it across a grade level, helping the teachers identify ways to incorporate it into their curriculum rather than just dumping a whole new curriculum on the schools and expecting them to be able to just implement it.
Okay, that's understandable, I guess. But I mean, it's much needed, and I hope, in time, within a reasonable amount of time, we would like to see every student in the city of Lowell, when they receive that high school education, is educated at some point on this issue. And that is our ultimate goal here. This is a good start. But again, I feel it's a low number, but I think it's new, it needs to be implemented. I guess there are some growing pains that go along with it, but I will be making a motion in a few months as we enter the school year to see how it's going, and we'll just get constant updates from there. But I thank you for coming in and answering the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All set, Counsel? Yes. Counsel Leahy, then Counsel Leary.
Sure. Thank you. So it's interesting. Could you, I really don't understand, so if you could elaborate a little bit more. I know, why only 300? So $40,000 for the first year for 300 students, and then $40,000 the next year for how many students?
So
the idea is to implement it over time. So they're going to need some planning time in that first year to actually identify the appropriate strategy. So I'm thinking that that 300 is by the end of this project year, which is the 2-year cycle. But they need to work to identify the appropriate strategy first. So that's going to eat up some of that 2-year cycle.
So what do you mean by appropriate strategy then?
Well, a lot of people could sit around a table and say, hey, we should tell the kids, don't do drugs. Or another one could say, we should scare the kids and show them what happens to their brain on drugs. Or someone would say, well, what really works is, making the parents tell their kids not to do drugs. So when we're looking for an evidence-based strategy, we're trying to find some that have already been tested in similar environments with similar age kids and have shown over time to be effective. So that's what that is trying to do for us, is identifying the program that is going to work, and then we have to actually implement it and see, does it work? We have to measure it over time. We have to evaluate the outcomes and see if we're getting where we need to go. Do we need to reevaluate midstream?
I just, I know it's getting late and I won't belabor this, but I mean, there's been studies in the past and studies that have just come up, and we've said it over numerous years, and it doesn't cost any money. You start out in the first grade, and the teachers and the principals and the staff get to know the kids. And all they need to do is say to them every morning, hey, how you doing? And, I'm not making light of this, but there are studies that show that when you engage these kids, that's the biggest thing that's going to make a difference. I just saw an article, or they just had something on 60 Minutes or something about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't cost money. It just it's an effort of everybody to reach out and talk to these kids. They feel part of the school, they feel welcomed, and then you implement different procedures on, don't smoke, don't do drugs, don't drink, and they listen a lot better. So I just get a kick out of these, it's a lot of money, like Councilor Bland just said, that maybe may not go directly to teaching the kids, educating the kids, but there's enough studies out there that just say involve the kids. I mean, Mr. Leary and I have seen it, Mr. Samaras from being on the school committees and being a headmaster and everybody else, that you need to engage these kids. That's where we need to spend the money. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. You just need to have good people at the schools who engage the kids every morning. So, I mean, I'll support this, but the answer is just to engage the kids. So that's my 2 cents.
Council Leary.
Just two quick, one statement. This is from Lowell General. So I guess, we've been beating up nonprofits. This is a good thing from a nonprofit donating to the school district. So I want to say publicly thank you to Lowell General, because it's a substantial sum of money to begin to work in the schools to develop, basically looking at really developing a curriculum or taking an existing curriculum in terms of managing that. So thank you to Lowell General for being a part of that. I think that's exactly what we're looking for from them, and I think that's a very positive initial step. I think Mr. Leahy and Councilor Leahy and Councilor Belanger have good points. I think that we want to maximize this. I think the school district really wants to make sure they do it right. I think we need to keep on top of it and making sure we maximize it with the most number of students possible. But I think it's a good start. We just need to make sure that it's effective. And I think, as Councilor Belanger said, he'll have follow-up motions to measure it, and I think that's exactly what we need to do. Objectively measure it and make sure that we're maximizing the number of folks, and more importantly, we're getting the results that we're all trying to achieve. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is an ordinance, create a new position of working foreman electrician, grade B, masters, and establish a salary in the Department of Public Works and modify certain job titles. There's no objection. Well, that would be the first reading. The motion would be to waive the full first reading and refer it to a public hearing for June 28th. 2016 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to that effect by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Milonazo? Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, on the subcommittee reports, we have one subcommittee report for the Public Safety Subcommittee for the meeting of June 14, 2016, a little earlier today.
Thank you. Public Safety Subcommittee met today. Myself, Councilor Rourke, and Councilor Leary. At the meeting, present at the meeting was City Manager, Councilor Samaras, Councilor Mercia, Councilor Milonazo, Councilor Belanger, the Mayor, Chief Taylor, and Chief Braziers from UMass Lowell. Both chiefs, Lowell Police Chief and UML Police Chief, gave us an overview of their collaboration. Talking points, we talked about training, how currently UMass Lowell PD recruits, how they both work together in the police academy. Currently this year, there's 60 recruits in the training, 3 from UMass Lowell and 16 just for the Lowell Police Department. The Lowell Police Department, along with UMass Lowell, they're both training in the active shooter training procedures that they've had. They had these drills during the April and February school year, working together on to best, it's getting late, on best how to work together on these. I know I do need help to work together in case an episode arises in the city. They talked about communications, how they're working together on mutual assistant calls. They have bi-weekly ComStat meetings, which they supply crime data to both departments to work together to help keep the city safe. We also talked about special initiatives like joint patrols, party patrols during the weekends, and also another initiative that they've come up with, which was successful, is Coffee with the Cop, where they have a meeting and they invite the neighbors and people of the community to meet, come in, ask questions, meet different offices of both departments. So it was a good overall meeting. It just showed, the cooperation that we're both working with. And also, Chief Braziers also mentioned that since they've really started this working relationship, that they've had a decrease in crime just on their end that they've noticed, as far as assaults and robberies, just getting out into the neighborhoods with one UMass Lowell Police Department, police officer, one UMass Lowell, one Lowell Department policeman, how that works together. They get to know the neighborhoods, the students, and the neighbors. So the meeting was fairly quick, but it was very informative, and that's the report. Thank you.
Council Leahy moves to accept the report as a report of progress, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next under petitions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'll make a quick announcement on our subcommittee reports. On June 27th, we're going to have a neighborhood services subcommittee. That'll be for the Centerville neighborhood. That'll be at Eagle Park at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Council Milonazo.
If I could also, on June 28th, we're going to have a personnel subcommittee to finish up the manager's evaluation at 5:30 on June 28th.
Okay, thank you. Next under petitions, we have 2 property claims. Chair will entertain a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation. We have a motion by Councilor Leary to do that, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next under miscellaneous, we have a request for additional fuel storage of 25,000 gallons of gasoline and 5,000 gallons of diesel in underground tanks at 710 Lakeview Avenue from Pace Energy. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and refer it to a public hearing for June 28th, 2016 at 7 p.m. We have a motion by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Belanger, to refer it to a public hearing. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next under miscellaneous is a request for permission to install a two-way street sign at the circle of D Street by Lori Carrington Arsenault. We'll refer that to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next under city council motions. Motion 10.1 was already taken care of, as was 10.22. So 10.2 is by Councilor Samaras.
I'd just like to make a motion that we bundle the following motions: 10.3, 10.4, 10.6, 10.8, 10.12, 10.14, 10.21. These are motions dealing with the university, and I'd like to see that they be sent to the Subcommittee on Educational Partnerships. This would give the city manager a chance to develop a report and also allow him to meet with Chancellor Maloney and allow her to make a report to the subcommittee regarding the master plans for both the city and the university. I think this would save some time and allow us to get all the information that we require. Thank you.
Okay, we have a
Second.
All right. First of all, we have a motion by Councilor Elliott that's different from the universities. That's what's up next at 10.2. But after that, then we'll entertain that motion, if that's okay, as a substitute motion. On 10.2, by Councilor Elliott, request that the city manager look into an LED bulletin board at the Lord overpass to replace the current plastic banners and future use following realignment of the overpass. Seconded by Councilor Leary.
So the motion does speak for itself, and the thought came up that there are so many activities that are taking place in the city throughout the year, and these organizations pay pretty good money to get a banner, and whether they need to have it changed every year or not. So the thought is to, and after a while, quite frankly, they look shabby. And I know you go through that way quite frequently, Mr. Manager. So the thought is to, look into an LED board. I don't know what the cost is. It might be significant, but the advertisements will pay for themselves. And I think it's quick, it's easy, and I think we'll be able to perhaps generate more advertisement by events by organizations that don't put them up there. So something to look into, clean it up, and still achieve the advertisement that these organizations or events are looking to promote.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger.
No, I think it's a great idea. It makes the city look shoddy, it really does. That's a gateway, and you see banners hanging, and normally after events, they don't take them down until the next person needs to put one up, but they cut them down. So it's a vicious cycle. It's been going on for some time. But there are other avenues you can go besides Councilor Elliott, what he mentioned. You can have a company put it up, and they could pay for it and give the city some time, so many minutes per year on city events, and get revenue in on the other private events. So it'd be nice if the city had it. I'm not opposed to that, but another avenue is, if it's not cost prohibitive, to have it bid it out and have somebody come in, put one up, and we could reap the same benefits. So just another way of looking at things, but I support the motion. Thank you very much.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Samaras.
I think it's a good motion, but could I add to the motion that once this study has been done, that possible study of other gateway entrances into the city are looked at as a possibility for down the road? Maybe the sign would be the first to test the model out, but I think it's something that would work and that would help the city.
The maker of the motion accepts that as a friendly amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if there's no objection, we'll just include that as part of the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next motion of the evening is 10.3. It's a motion by Councilor Elliott to request the city manager report on the city's real estate tax agreement with UMass involving UMass Lowell Inn and Conference Center and the establishment and use of funds in the Community Improvement Fund. That's seconded by Councilor Belanger. We have a substitute motion by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke, to bundle items 10.3, the motion 10.3 motion 10.4, motion 10.6, 10.7, 10.8, and 10.12, and 10.21. All together in one motion. Refer that to the city manager and to the City Council Subcommittee on Educational Partnerships. The motion's made and seconded. That's the substitute motion.
I don't object to bundling these, but I believe two of these don't really belong going to education partnerships. They're really zoning issues that should go to the zoning subcommittee, particularly 10.6, reporting on the number of properties zoned to allow construction of dormitories, and the following 10.7, manager provide information on language to be added to zoning, the zoning code regarding, nonprofit and pilots.
Okay.
So I don't object to bundling, but I think these two perhaps more appropriately should be referred to the zoning subcommittee for discussion.
Okay. There's no objection by Council, that will be accepted as a friendly amendment that those two motions will be sent to the zoning subcommittee. Okay. Any discussion? Council Milonazo and Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the bundling of the motions, but I am concerned, and I did share this with Council Mercia earlier, the language in 10.8, where we're supporting a freeze on the sale of all tax-paying properties. Again, if we're referring this to the city manager and the law department for report, that's fine. But if we're taking a vote tonight to freeze the university's ability to buy properties, I don't think we should do that. So it's going to be referred to the city manager.
The city manager and the subcommittee
Fine.
for a recommendation that will come back to the council at some point.
Thank you.
But it's a good point. Council Mercia.
I know it's illegal, but sometimes you have to take a stand and prove a point, and that's what I'm trying to do with this 10.3. I want to speak on that, which Councilor Elliott made a good point when he said, request the city manager report on the city's real estate tax agreement with UMass Lowell involving UML Inn and Conference Center and establish a use of funds in the community improvement. I'd like a report on that too. UMass Lowell pays $60,000, which was directed towards a public portion of the Inn and Conference Center banquet space at the hotel portion. In 2016, $60,000 was paid. The following year, UML paid $200,000 to replace a city water main on North Campus, which counted towards the city's university commitment and did not pay the $60,000. To me, you want to talk about what's wrong? That maneuver was completely wrong. If a resident or a business is asking for a new upgrade to the water system, if you are applying for insurance for fire protection and you're asked to upgrade or make the repair appropriate by the insurance company, or if you're asking for a greater demand for water usage, then that upgrade is a responsibility of the resident, the business, or the college making the request. The $200,000 payment was UMass Lowell's responsibility, and they should also have paid the city $60,000 for the banquet space as well. The business for residential property on Wellman Street near Cross Point Towers is paying for the installation of all their water pipes. Why should the taxpayer be responsible for paying for upgrades that benefit businesses, colleges, or people who need more upgrades? It also appears that the money, which we'll not call pilot money because the Board of Trustees does not agree to pay a pilot, but this money is put into a community improvement fund. In 21 years, I have never heard of this so-called fund, and I wonder if any of my colleagues ever heard of it as well. If this money is used on, let's say, water pipe problems, of which businesses and residents must pay for themselves, then why should this money go to pay for what the university should be paying for? No special fund is set up for taxpayers. UML wants their cake, and they want to eat it too, and I know that there are people here that are going to report back to the college, and I hope you report verbatim everything I say, or they can give me a call and I'll tell them myself. I can see right through them. The talk out on the street is that although we allow UMass Lowell to buy up homes and expand, the expansion is getting a bit too much. I'm sitting here because I bring the message of the people to this room. $77,000 in property taxes being lost from the sale of Notinis. $321,000 being lost on the Perkins Park property and countless of other properties. Our taxpayers feel like they're being robbed, and I can't blame them. So I'm asking you, Mr. Manager, I have some advice, and I want you to represent this council and the residents in this city at the same force, determination, and authority that Monty Meehan and the university has displayed when representing their entity. I'm representing this entity, and so are you. I want you to fight for the people to get what we should expect to get and stop allowing people to walk all over us. And I'm going to just say this. This was very interesting in the paper as well. It was a very interesting week. In the agreement that we're talking about, the city agreed to not collect taxes on the hotel for as long as the university continued making annual payments into the Community Improvement Fund, which I never heard about. Although the payments were going to the city, all projects paid for through this fund shall benefit the university according to the agreement. So here's my motion for myself. When I pay my taxes, I want it to go into the Community Improvement Fund, and I want that if I need a roof, that it'll come out of that and I can spend it and repair my property. This is in essence what you're telling me, and I feel like, are we all fools? Is the word sucker written across my face? Because I'm very frustrated. The Community Improvement Fund. Let's put money in there in lieu of taxes, and when we need a problem with the university, we'll take that out and we'll pay for it. What are we getting? It's just a revolving fund that goes right back into the university. Yes, they do contribute something. I don't know how much they contribute to the businesses downtown, because I don't hear about how all the students are coming in, because if you never have to leave the university, you got Einstein Bagel, you got Starbucks, you got everything there. They never really have to leave anyway. Everything is covered. So I'm getting a little bit frustrated, and I'm bringing this message up because I'm hearing it from everywhere I go. So that's what I'm hearing. You want to hear all the good things? I'm telling you, we need to sit down and discuss all this with the university. I mean, I'm proud of what they've done, but enough is enough. I know you can't freeze it. I know the rules. I know it's against the law. But I'm so frustrated that I had to make a statement, and that was the statement that I made.
The motion is to refer the 7 motions to the city manager for his report and to the appropriate subcommittees of their report. Council Milonazo.
The only comment I want to make, and I understand and I can obviously hear Councilor Murphy's frustration, but let's show some respect to Chancellor Maloney here. Her name wasn't mentioned in that entire tirade. Okay, I understand that Chancellor Meehan was involved 2 or 3 years ago, but again, Chancellor Maloney is the Chancellor of UMass Lowell. She's meeting with the city manager. Let's not start off on the wrong foot. And that tirade, in my opinion...
I never mentioned her name. I
No,
wasn't
I think you should.
referring to
I think you
wasn't
should.
referring
I think
to her.
you should. You're showing her
I'm
disrespect.
not blaming her.
You're showing her disrespect. She's the chancellor. You're showing her disrespect.
Just got there. I'm not blaming
You're
her.
showing her disrespect.
Okay, any, Councilor.
Showing me disrespect.
Mr. Mayor.
Just real quick, I think just to go back what I said earlier tonight, I think really sitting down, Mr. Manager, and regarding and developing a master plan. I think that's imperative. That's really where we're going forward. I think the mayor articulated really deep concerns that we have as a city, and we need to share those concerns with the university. I think once that's done, I think obviously their trustees need to look at it, and ultimately I think we should look at it as representatives of the city. I have complete faith in you in that and having that negotiation. I think you've already started that. I think you have the ability to make that happen. And I think every councilor here tonight has expressed frustration in different ways, but I think going forward, we need the university to be successful because that's part of our success. But we need to make sure that relationship is reciprocal, not a one-sided relationship. So I'm pretty confident you're going to be able to do that. I think what I've heard so far from you and actually and other folks that and on the side, that's definitely doable. So I have the confidence of doing that, but let's just make sure that, it's something that we actually get to take a look at and actually approve as well. Thank you.
Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. No, when I asked to bundle these motions, I think several things are going to happen. Number one, it's going to allow the city manager to sit down, review what issues have been raised by the councilors. Two, he's going to be able to continue his discussions with Chancellor Maloney. I think we've talked about it. We have a master plan for the city of Lowell. We really need to work with the Chancellor Maloney about the master plan for the university. But I think right now, there's been a major bump on the road, but we have had such a good relationship with the university, and I do believe within time, it will continue to be as good, if not better. But I think what we're doing now is giving the manager time to negotiate and talk with Chancellor Maloney, and when you're ready to provide that information that we've requested, I think it'll be for good. The dialogue will be stronger, more meaningful, and I think it will address a lot of our issues, but it'll give you time to do that. And I think that's what we need right now. Slow the process down, have some time to work these issues out, because we need the University of Lowell to succeed. There's no question about that. Kronos, the hierarchy of Kronos made no bones about it, that one of the main reasons, beside what you had to offer them, Mr. Manager, was that the research that Lowell, University of Lowell offers is a strong incentive. But at the same time, if the university is to succeed, Lowell has to succeed, the city has to succeed. And so we need one needs the other. So I think you're going to be able to take that wish and make it happen. So, but it'll give us time to think. It'll give us time to review the many issues that have been brought up and come up with some good answers. Thank you.
Okay, so once again, the motion is to bundle all 7 motions, refer them to the proper subcommittee and to the city manager where they can be discussed in full, and with the added advantage of having the information that comes from the city manager's negotiations. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to speak on a couple issues. One, certainly Councilor Mercia spoke about a lot, and that was, this is item 10.3. And this is a report on this real estate tax agreement that was not known, certainly to me and other members of this council. And it's disappointing because it was kept secret. There's actually a provision in the settlement that says it will be kept secret by both parties unless both parties agree to release the information. That's not how we develop trust with the taxpayers of the city. And long before UMass Lowell began their expansion, the taxpayers of the city kept the city going. And the city will continue to reinvent ourselves. And do we want a partnership? Yes, it's a relationship that we have fostered. We've worked hard to develop relationships because we know relationships work in the city, and the university is no exception, but so is the national park. And our businesses, our bankers, our small businesses, our nonprofits. But things should be things should be on the up and up. And that's what's frustrating about this. Yes, UMass has provided a benefit to the city, but we have also provided a benefit to the university. You know, the secrecy behind this 2013 back taxes deal involving the UN Conference Center, we were never told about it. The solicitor wrote a very clear opinion that it's a taxable entity. And back taxes that were forgiven, $300,000, were owed. So whether this document, this settlement, is legal or not, I don't know, Mr. Manager. I think we need to check with DOR, because what happens, does this set a precedent for other entities now who may be quasi or may have some commercial end to it, yet they're looking for a similar agreement? I hope not. I'm not looking to move backwards, but I'm looking to move forward. That's just, I guess a concern from what we hear, this deal, it was a sweetheart deal that the university got. I supported the university taking the Indian Conference Center. It was at 29%, and it was purchased for $50 million, but that came off the tax rolls. I just think we have to make sure, moving forward, that things that are done are brought forward to this council, and that we know. I would like to know, is there a community involvement fund that is specifically stated in this agreement and money is going to be deposited into? We just went through the budget. I didn't see it. I didn't see it in any list of items of contributions made to the city. So I know you're going to sit down with the chancellor, but according to this agreement, there should be a separate fund, and it should be transparent, and this council should have a role when money is appropriated into and appropriated out. So, that's the agreement. Secondly, item I'd like to also speak on, and it's not directly related to the university, but it's related to the planning board's action this past week. I happened to be reading the minutes to look at what was taking place on various developments, and when I came to the portion of the minutes that we received, just to read actions taken by the planning board relative to a provision that was eliminated, a provision that was recommended by you, Mr. Manager, and your staff. And I want to commend you for putting that in because you were looking forward. We saw what was taking place with Perkins. We knew that this was another private development coming forward to the city to provide dormitory space that was going to stay on the tax rolls, just like Perkins. And in order to protect the city, you sent the letter over with order of conditions, and one of them was eliminated, and that was if the item to identify the resale of a property to a nonprofit to require a payment in lieu of taxes. I cannot for the life of me understand why that was taken out. One of these motions asks you to look into including language in the zoning code to prevent what had taken place. And if it was going to take place, as it was a private deal, it was mentioned tonight, that the city gets something from it. Because we're moving in a direction that's saying, fine, private dormitory space, it'll stay in the tax rolls. We need property to stay in the tax rolls, and you're protecting the city and you're protecting the taxpayers, and I think that's important. So, I don't know where this project stands, but I was very disappointed to see a recommendation made by our planning department, a Division of Planning Development, with your direction, Mr. Manager, was ignored by the planning board, something that is significant moving forward. So I do support sending the rest of these. There'll be more discussion on this, on these items. Running this city is a balance, or keeping the city moving forward is a balance, and I believe that we have struck that balance. And we're the envy of many other communities throughout the state. How do we do it? We continue to reinvent ourselves, the university, the park. So many other pieces to that puzzle makes this city move forward, and we need to continue it. I fully intend to continue to work with this partnership through the university, but the balance, we need to readjust the balance, I think. And the university is going to protect their interests, and they're going to move forward with what funding they have through the state. And I think I know, I hope they know that we're just doing the same here in the city, protecting the city's best interest as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just as a point of information, Councilor, I was aware of that arrangement for the $60,000. I know that there's other people in City Hall that were that knew of that arrangement, so I'm not sure that I would characterize it as a secret agreement. It certainly was something that wasn't publicized very well, but I'm not sure I would use the word secret as far as that agreement. I have to think that I have other people that have been on this city council at other recent times that also knew about that agreement.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you knew about it, then your decision not to tell anybody about it. That's your decision. We work for the taxpayers, in my opinion, and this deal should not have been kept from it. So whether it was secret or whether it was private, I think when you don't intentionally tell somebody something that is government business, it's a secret. So that's my opinion. This should have been brought forward to the city council for approval, knowing that it was a forgiving of taxes, just like any tax increment financing agreement that we approve, anything to do with revenue and tax. It's a level playing field.
Hey, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been brought forward to the city council. I'm just saying that I don't think I'm the only person that knew about it. I'm certain that I'm not the only person in City Hall that knew about it, but I also don't think I was the only one in the city council that knew about it. But I also never felt, I was disappointed in it, but I never felt like I had an obligation to tell anybody else about it, because my assumption was that everybody knew about it or learned about it the same way that I did.
Look, we don't have to debate this. If this is such a good deal, press releases were released every other week on good deals. And if it was, then this certainly was worthy of news. But more importantly, we work for the people. And shame on those that didn't bring it forward, because it's our obligation to keep government open and transparent. And tax-paying money is part of that process. So thank you. I appreciate
Any further discussion on bundling the motions? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next item is item 10.5, request that the city manager work with the Board of Parks to honor Al Hebert at a stone memorial dedicated to the people of Pawtuckettville. Seconded by Councilor Leary. Councilor Elliott.
So I think a couple of us get phone calls on this, and I think it's worthy of honoring Mr. Hebert. He certainly was a steward and a stalwart in Pawtuckettville. Exactly how to do that, I will leave that to the city manager. I know we get phone calls on some options to do it, but I don't know. I mean, there is a stone in Pawtuckettville, but that's dedicated to the people of Pawtuckettville. So if I leave it in your hands, Mr. Manager, on how we can honor him. He was a very, very involved activist. We never really, we didn't agree all the time, but he always had the interest of that neighborhood and protecting that neighborhood in heart, and I think in his heart, and I think we should honor him somehow. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item is a motion by Councilor Mercia. Request that the city manager have inspectional services continue to oversee the St. Hilaire Car Wash property at 1682 Middlesex Street for health safety violations as occurred on the evening of June 4th, as well as the removal of the Planet Aid box on the premises. Seconded by Councilor Leary. Councilor Mercia.
That's a long story, but we don't have enough time. And I think that the situation is being handled very well. That's all I want to say. That it's a long, long story, and it was a very long night. But we have new owners there that need to be addressed by the inspectional services because something isn't happening right there. But that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion for the evening is by Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager work with the Lowell Police Department Superintendent to remove vagrants sleeping in the South Common and any other playground in the city. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. Quickly, it's summertime and some of the vagrants have come back to South Common. As I stated before, we don't want to see the police, herding them out of the park, but we need to find other places for them to stay or have a bed to stay in. These parks, especially the South Common and all the other commons where our children play, are no place to allow vagrants to set up residence, so to speak. So I just want the police to check all the parks that our children play in, because this has upset some of the people that use the South Common, but I want to make sure all parks are safe for our children. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras. Request the city manager work with the staff to extract narrative portions of the FY17 budget report to be used as information documents for developers. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. I mean, that speaks for itself. Mr. Manager, as I stated before, I think you and your staff did a great job in the budget. But also, I saw that you expanded your narrative in this year's budget. And the narrative, especially by each department, where they talk about their goals, they talk about their mission statements, they talk about what they've accomplished. I think if we take the numbers out of the budget book, with a little effort, I think you can make that into a great tool to be used with developers coming into the city. Because what the budget says to me, or what the narrative states to me, is it talks about the thinking that goes on in Lowell, about what each department wants to do to make Lowell a better place. And what better information can you give a developer than to show what the police are trying to do, fire department's trying to do, planning and development's trying to do, health department's trying to do. It's really a good selling tool for this system. So you've done a great job. I'm saying use it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Leary, request that the city manager work with the city auditor in order to provide a report outlining all contractual financial accounts that are not included within the budget and not annual or one-time grant funds. Seconded by Council Leahy. Council Leary.
Speaks for itself. Thank you.
Motion speaks for itself. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Leahy, request that the city manager have the proper department work with the school department in maintaining school grounds as pertaining to lawn care and trash removal. Seconded by Council Leary. Council Leahy.
Thank you. If the school department could talk with DPW or DPD, just to go over who's in charge of what. I've been getting a lot of calls about the trash and the overgrown grass at the schools. So if we could work on that, so the schools can be better neighbors for the neighborhood. Thank you.
He's going to withdraw. Any further discussion? Council Milonazo.
Just related, the area over by the Lithuanian Monument at JFK needs to be cleaned out. It's full of weeds and overgrown brush. And we were all here Sunday for the fire department's event. And the area, again, adjacent to the Civic Center, there's 5 to 6 foot weeds growing out of the brick wall. And again, it's something that we look at, but I guess people are just not seeing it. And even cleaning up for the firefighters, whoever did the work, and I guess I'm being critical, they didn't actually weed whack after they went through. So you still had grass growing up through the bench, which was right next to the firefighters' monument. So again, I was a little disappointed, but again, related to this issue, we just need to pay more attention to the grounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. I skipped over item 10.14 because that's been withdrawn by Council Leahy. So moving on to 10.16 is a motion by Council Leahy as well, requesting that the city manager of the property department provide the city council with updates regarding road work on Nesmith Street between Andover and East Merrimack Street. Seconded by Council Leary. Council Leahy.
Sure. Motion speaks for itself.
Motion speaks for itself. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a motion by Council Leahy to request the city manager of the property department update the city council regarding tree plantings for FY17. Seconded by Council Leary.
Sure. Motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Motion speaks for itself. Further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a motion by Council Milonazo, request that the city manager add Mansion Drive to the paving list. Seconded by Council Rourke. Council
Speaks for
Milonazo.
itself.
Motion speaks for itself. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a motion by Council Milonazo, request that the city manager have the law department weigh in on recent decisions rendered by the License Commission regarding a number of violations at downtown bars. Seconded by Council Rourke. Council Milonazo.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I have a lot of respect for the members of the License Commission. They don't have an easy job. It's like being in a courtroom hearing testimony back and forth. But I'm concerned with the bar on Merrimack Street, on Middle Street, and on Middlesex Street. That they've been before the License Commission a number of times. Some of them have received probation. One on Middlesex Street just recently received 2 days probation for not allowing a sergeant in the Lowell Police Department entrance into the building after it was allegedly someone was hit over the head with a bottle, and the bouncer at the front door said, "We take care of our own." I mean, it's just bizarre behavior, in my opinion. And they were given a 2-day suspension that was suspended, 2-day closure, which was a suspended sentence if they don't have another event within the next 12 months. Again, I wasn't there. I can't get into the minds of the License Commission, but I just think that we have 3, in my opinion, rogue bars in downtown Lowell that need to be looked at more closely by the License Commission. So that's the gist of the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The last motion of the evening is a motion by Council Belanger, request that the city manager invite Wind Development to appear before the city council to discuss their vision for the Hamilton Canal District, seconded by Council Elliott. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, as we know, they are our new master developer. Let's get them in here, see what their vision is, and we can share our vision with them. So I look forward to that meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Under announcements,
Yes.
Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be quick because it's almost 10 o'clock. We have that rule, and I would support to quit. But on Friday, June 24th, it was postponed before, but we have the unveiling of the portrait of Audrey McMahon at the Senior Center, 276 Broadway Street, at 11 o'clock on Friday, June 24th. We're pleased to invite the public, anyone that knew Audrey, come on down. She lost her battle with lung cancer, and we want to give her this gift of an unveiling of her portrait there. So that's Friday, June 24th at 11 o'clock at the Senior Center, 276 Broadway Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further announcements?
One quick one, Mr. Mayor. I just want to let the folks at home know that Lowell Walks began last Saturday, I should say. Lowell Walks is a historic walk that begins at 246 Market Street at 10 a.m. It's about an hour and a half, and it's free. And this Saturday will be the update on the Hamilton Canal District, and we thank all of those involved in making downtown Lowell a destination. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rourke. Motion adjourned by Councilor. City Manager, before the motion.
Very quickly, I just want to remind the public, the new City Hall hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Friday, 8 a.m. to noon.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We have a motion adjourned by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned at 9:59. Or thereabouts.